everyone, it's Charlie Wilson again, joining us, hopefully from wherever you are. Hopefully you're safe, sound, and warm. It's going to be myself and my friend Dan Marati in just a moment. He'll be in just for a second, watching Starrcade 90 today. Oop, Starrcade 90. If you want, go on to Peacock, or if you want, check out the live chat, and there's a link provided. There should be a link provided, right, Dan?
The link is already up, baby.
Link is already up. Click on it. Or if you're on your TV, go to WWE Network on Peacock, go to Starrcade. It's Season 8, Episode 1. You'll see a little graphic of Luger, Muta, Sting, and Stan Hansen. Sting defends the NWA title against the Black Scorpion in a steel cage match. Actually, no, is that Black Scorpion or Muta? I think it might be Muta.
No, Black Scorpion.
That's Black Scorpion. Okay, I apologize. It's a man in black. But
all right.
If you want, just click on the link and follow along. Right now, we're going to be checking that out in just a second. I'm going to be on the chat.
Here's
in
my
just a
pillow
moment.
that I hide my dilapidated body on as I make my way down the entranceway.
No.
As we're in Studio B again tonight. Quincy Rastani is in Studio A.
Oh, I was thinking, I was always arriving here. I'm like, it's a Thursday. That means Quincy's. And that old Honda bike was outside.
All right. You know what? Maybe we should say hello to the fans for a few minutes. Guys, can you hear us? That's always the big point of contention. Is that Bo Dallas? No.
Nope, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? It actually, can you see us?
Yeah, no, look.
It actually worked. Holy Mother of God.
I'm watching
Did you
myself.
know that? Joe, believe you knew the pain in my back, brother. I'll take anything I can get, happiness or otherwise. It is Linda Marati's birthday, so we wish Linda a very happy birthday.
Happy
even
birthday,
though
Linda.
She's not one known for happiness, but that's a different story for a different time.
No.
We'll give folks a few minutes to filter in. Again, Saturday night, November the 13th, we celebrate our 20th anniversary, going back to the 90s at Memorial Hall, 2 blocks that way. Quincy Rastani has been painting the town with posters today. Better late than never. Maybe even a few spots in a certain city where you live that you could put a couple up. Not to name any name. We don't want to give away any secrets.
I could poster some people's door stops and
door stops.
Well, they live right there.
All right. Well.
You know, right on the doors.
Well, we're always looking for street team members here in Boston Wrestling, believe me. Again, folks, we've got the links out. Share with your friends. We're going to have some fun. I don't want to start right off the bat because I know sometimes people come in a little late. We'll give it 2 or 3 minutes. We'll banter a little bit.
There's a couple people coming in the chat right now.
Yeah, they're coming. They want to chat.
Now, with Quincy, does he put the posters up by himself or is he supervised?
In this instance today, he was unsupervised. He went out on his own like an animal.
So no one really knows where he went to put up the posters?
No. And he was pretty quick, so I don't think too many went up. But I know his good friend, Uncle Al Snow, left specific instructions for him. So we'll have to wait and see. Oh, there I am. Charlie said I looked horrible today. I looked dead and ragged and tired.
I just said you looked tired because you're working so hard for November 13th.
That's right.
I sometimes think that I know you want the November show because you told me you like November shows because sometimes the Red Sox from the playoffs in October. But I think you left the show so ahead of time. There's so many things that could happen. You know, you put it up so far away in the future. There's so many things that could happen.
You think we should have had it sooner?
Well, I'm just saying, I think the anticipation and things can always change within a certain amount of time.
My anticipation is for it to end, so I don't.
No, I once heard with wrestling, typically with wrestling, traditionally shows drew the best in the fall and spring. The summer, not so much. Is that how it was traditionally? Summertime
can be rough, and in this part of the country, in the wintertime, snow and weather, inclement weather can be a problem.
But summer, I would think because a lot of kids are out of school, or is that just because?
Yeah, and this is kind of a vacation area, so I always tried to go by my thought process the way WWE would do it. Like there's certain parts of the summer where they'd always try and go to Canada to try and evade. We give people a chance to where it's much cooler. In Canada, it's kind of rough to leave in the wintertime. You talk about Arctic temperatures.
Well, that's true. That's true. I mean, it just seems like if it's cold half the year here, imagine what it is in a place like Alberta.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
So-
we have our good friend Danny Duggan and his CWE promotion up in Canada. They're trying to get back on track. But for fans in the Northeast, if you want to get tickets to the big event, I just put the link up. If you're out of the Northeast or you can't make it or both, we do have mail order available for all of our featured superstars on November the 13th. So if you want an autographed photo, if you have your own item, I know our great friend Chris Steves wants to send his WrestleMania poster in to be signed by the superstars. We're willing to accommodate. As all of the legends are going to filter their way into the studio over the weekend, along with some of the hungry young athletes that are going to tear it up in the ring that night. So it's going to be a big 3 days.
You have a lot of testosterone, a lot of egos maybe coming through.
Yes, definitely a lot of egos.
Especially with now I'm excited. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a little worried. I saw the Dylan Cage video that was posted recently, and I'm a little petrified. I'm not going
I
to lie.
told John Cena Sr. my opinion, which was to keep the scumbag back at Indian Land down in North Carolina. But John Cena Sr., I don't know what he's thinking. Then yesterday he went on a tirade about it. He was talking about Indian women being raped. I don't want to give away any spoilers for tomorrow night's Wrestling Inside His Fabulous Fridays.
If there was a TV guide and there was the info on it, it'd be like John Cena Sr. talks about blankety blank.
We talked about Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights and American Indian women being raped. It was.
Well, did they segue into each other, like out of each other? Like
not in the same.
I hope he said he didn't do any of those.
No. He said it was a shame what happened. Well, I don't want to spoil it for the fans. Tune in tomorrow night.
Let's wait.
All right, let's get ready. Let's enjoy a little Starrcade, folks. I am going to put it on. If you have not found the link, it is in the description box below. And this one doesn't look to be heavily edited like Halloween Havoc was.
170 minutes, so that's
that looks like a full show as opposed to the microscopic version of Halloween Havoc we got.
The one that they didn't, they were
4
so ashamed
matches.
of half the card. But to be fair, I mean, actually, no, I can't even say that because at the time they should have had a boatload of talent they could have chosen from.
Well, all right, fans, we're going to get ready to start Starrcade, and we're going to go 3, 2, 1, play. So play along the game with me. We're going to go live with Starrcade 90 in 3, 2, 1, play. Let's see what we got. Turn it a little for Charlie so we can see it. Oh, shit.
What's up?
What did I do?
Oh, I just saw you turn it.
And the TV went off.
Oh no, folks. Technical difficulties again. The studio
motherfucker.
Could be Dylan Cage from North Carolina summoning demons. Let's see. I saw you turned it. Let's just unplug it, plug it back in.
Did the TV go off? Let me see. Where's the remote? Motherfucker.
Power button there. I wonder, did you hold it here?
Maybe.
Because there's a power button here. Let me see if I can.
Well, that's probably what I didn't even know there was a power button there.
Let's see what's going on with
this could be like the ECW pay-per-view, Anarchy Rules, because there's always some kind of fucking anarchy when we, pardon my French, but.
Well, I was about to say, actually, speaking of that, there's also November to Remember, and this is going to be a November to Remember at 11/13.
That's right.
Actually, it looks like this might be the power button. No, that's not it. This is right here. Let me see if I have to hold it. You have to hold it.
Give it a little touch, like number 3.
Number 8.
Well, this is great. We can't get the TV on after it was just on, and it's probably playing right now. Oh, what the fuck?
Hold on. Let's see what's going on with this.
This is insane. Show me where the power button is. I've never even seen the thing before.
Buttons are right here. There's 3, but there's input.
Oh,
maybe it's input. I don't think the problem is I don't see a light on.
No, there should be a little white light in the bottom corner.
What if I?
Imagine the people tuning in right now, looking at chairs, saying, "What on earth is going on here?"
I'm just going to unplug it real quick.
All right.
And let's see what happens here. Okay. Give it a second.
Wait. It's blinking.
There's light.
Oh. Come on. I want to give it up. Wait, now it shut off. Let's try it again. Oh. I don't have a lot of patience for these types of things when they don't work, fans. Wait.
There we go.
I guess you had to give it a minute to warm up. It's like Greg Valentine. It needed 15 minutes.
Hey.
All right, fans. We're going to go back to Starrcade 90.
We are back for the attack. All right. Starrcade.
All right. It's starting now. So hit play on WWE Network. And we're going. Can you see it? Whoa, can you see it all right?
I can see it, yeah.
I look like a drunk man falling into the chair.
Point, Starrcade 90, they were in December at this point.
Yes.
Correct? Okay, good. Did you think that, why did they change from November to December? Any reason for that?
Survivor Series.
Oh, well, it makes sense.
They wanted to try and make some money. The famous Kiel Auditorium, St. Louis, Missouri. What
that was
great traditional pro wrestling city.
Sam Mushnick's town?
That was a Mushnick. That was his town.
Now, what was
his only town?
No, St. Louis was one of the best wrestling towns, but Kansas City was the town that was just right over next door.
Kansas City was kind of...
That was Harley Race's deal.
Or, you weren't going to make much money in KC.
Harley, actually, was it Bob Geigel who ran there?
Yeah, Geigel was involved in he had a piece of the Kansas City promotion.
Bob Brower? Marty
I don't
Jannetty
know if Brower owned a piece of it, but I know he was one of their mainstays.
Now, I've been watching the last couple of these. I like the Jim Ross and Paul Dangerously combination.
I'll tell you this. When I was there in 2001, I thought they were, before they started the invasion nonsense with WCW and ECW, I thought they were much more effective than Lawler and Ross. And I like Jerry Lawler as a talent, but I was never a fan of him acting like a little child on commentary, squealing over puppies.
Oh, yeah, the puppies thing got... I liked
when
him
he was a heel, Jerry Lawler, probably up until 97-ish, 98, he was pretty good. But once he started going that routine of being a perv, he lost his effectiveness. Speaking of a man that puts the pet in Gary Michael Capetta, he enjoyed petting Cecil the Lion outside. All right, let's see what these fine folks have to say.
Oh, Missy Hyatt, the first,
Joe Shipley, welcome, my friend. And there's old Sam himself. Gary giving him a little pet. Well, either WWE Network butchered... WWE Network didn't like what he had to say. Maybe Peacock had enough of Sam Mushnick.
He's not saying anything?
I can't make it out.
10 years past dead, Sam Mushnick. When did he die?
Stingers, how are you, baby? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Happy to see you. He's talking about Jim Barnett, man that would have loved to have been number 3.
My boy. Do you want to be the NWA champion?
Mushnick retired, I think, as you knock everything over again.
I do.
Hey, Tim, how are you, friend? Glad you're here. I think he retired in 82. If I remember right, I don't know if it was either New Year's Eve or New Year's Day.
I think
they did a big event at the Checker Dome.
Did he die?
He is dead, yes.
No. I'm just trying to think of when he died. I know it wasn't recently. It was a while ago.
Yeah, Sam was...
2000-ish, maybe? 1998.
He's not having the easiest time getting out of the ring.
No, gosh.
It's a good time to cut to the national anthem, Gary. Now, see, I thought Gary Michael Capetta would be great for something like this.
I think
looking back at the old shows, but he said, he had very little recollection and very little interest. So what are you going to do?
Well, I think Gary Michael Capetta would have done well. I think he'd be great today, especially with some of the. I'm trying to remember who's even working for Vince. I remember they had that woman JoJo. You remember JoJo? She was working with them too recently. Bray Wyatt's main squeeze.
Oh, you mean to use him as a ring announcer?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
You know what? I think he could be effective as a ring announcer. I don't think he's got that glamorous Hollywood look that Vince is looking for.
Like Justin Roberts.
No.
Did you like Justin Roberts?
I liked him more in WWE. dramatic introductions in AEW are kind of to me.
Oh, I understand that.
A little too much. I wonder where Mushnick is at this point. Well, he made it out. What's the opening contest at Starrcade going to be? For those fans that were with us, when was it? Sunday night, when we did Halloween Havoc 90 on Halloween, a lot of the card was missing. But again, this is just about 3 hours, so we should get the whole show in. Then at 10 o'clock tonight, Eastern Standard Time, baby. You know what it is. Wrestling Inside is Party with Marty. Marty Jannetty is ready to rock. He talks about the Nasty Boys debut, Honky Tonk Man's departure, Bobby Heenan being arrested. We finally finished the year that was WWF 1990.
It took about 5 years to get through one
year.
year.
Took us quite a long time to get it done.
A very long, frustrating year of 1990.
Oh, from your lips to God's ears. This beautiful Bobby with a little, even with my one ear that I can't hear out of, we have beautiful Bobby.
Is yours still bothering you? You said when you got off the plane the other...
I haven't been able to hear out of my right ear since I got off the plane.
He's from the dark side, formerly Huntsville, Alabama. Well, I wonder what that is. It's been several days.
What, my ear is? Well, you're the one that is a medical professional.
Well, I'm just saying that maybe there's something did you hear a pop or anything? Like, Did you have a what's it called? Did your eardrum pop?
It hasn't yet.
Because I wonder if your eardrum popped and you've just been waiting to hear out of that. You might take some time for it to actually recover. Tom Zenk looked great, by the way.
Tom Zenk, man that left WWF in 1987 when Greg Valentine and others found him cuddling with Rick Martel.
I'm just going to say this, Rick Martel.
At least according to Marty.
If you did that, you had good taste. Even though
Rick had good taste.
Yeah, I'd say Rick. Well, also they looked a little similar actually. They looked like they could have been related. They had the same kind of.
I don't think those were the relations they were worried about.
I don't think so. No, Bob Eaton.
Solid opening contest here at Starrcade. Two good workers.
With Lime Green involved. Now, Bobby Eaton, I saw him cut up. Earlier, was yesterday or yesterday? I watched him cut a promo in his Memphis days in the early 80s. He was a good promo.
Now, was that when he was teaming with Coco Beware, or was he doing singles action?
Dark brown hair. He was teaming with Coco, and he had that voice. But what I loved about a lot of those promos is the guys. You had guys who were characters, but you had guys who were just real guys. Like Lawler was a great promo. Lawler was more or less just himself. He wasn't out there just doing a promo like a wrestling promo. He was just himself. Bob Eaton was himself. You had characters like, Jimmy Valiant doing his boogie woogie thing, but you had other guys who were a little more realistic. Dutch Mantell kind of rode the line between both of them, I thought.
My good friend, Dirty Dutch.
Oh, Dutch is amazing. Smart guy.
I can't wait to get together with Dutch for the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive when we return to the Sunshine State, Tampa, Florida, the first week in December. Apparently, you're too busy or too good to join us.
I don't have, you know what it is? The schedule just came out the day after he told me about it.
Oh, well. You can't change the schedule.
I cannot, but
you'll be there in spirit, I guess.
I will be there in spirit, but we could talk about the next time.
Well, the next one, I think, is probably going to be Dallas.
Mania weekend?
You got it. Mania week. Mania week. You think we just did all that over a weekend? Are you kidding me?
Going to Dallas during Mania week?
We had, what's that?
Going to Dallas during Mania week?
Of course.
Okay.
Why would we go to Tampa? Everybody's going to be in Texas.
Well,
now, sad that both of these gentlemen are now gone, with Bobby passing earlier in the year. Z-Man was kind of a troubled soul, from what I recall.
What was up with Zenk? He left WCW, I think, in '94. He did a couple indie things, and that was it.
I think he was gone before that.
I think he left in '94.
No, wasn't.
I'm pretty sure he did.
How much do you want to bet? Do you want to bet?
That he left in 1994?
Yeah.
I said he was gone by '94. If it was 90, if it wasn't 94, it was 93.
I really don't need, maybe 92.
Because he did that.
Should I Google it, fans?
Didn't he do that team with Tom Brady?
Yeah. Yep.
That's why I want to say it's 94. Because Tom Brady would have been in WCW for that time.
No, definitely wasn't 94.
All right,
Kevin,
look it up.
You want me to go to that great extent?
You can go to the great
cheat?
extent. Yeah.
Joe Shipley, I'm sorry, Joe. He says 89 to 94. I'd like to know what Zink did in 94 in WCW. Let's see. Because Kevin was around then. Kevin was getting ready to jump ship from what he was doing with ECW to WCW. That's why I kind of remember his insight.
But he left, regardless.
Well, you know what?
What was that?
I'm somewhat right and I'm somewhat wrong. He was kind of part-time-ish at that point, and I remember this now. He left in '93, and it forced the Starrcade match where him and Steamboat was supposed to defend the tag team titles. Oh no! Wait a minute! No.
Didn't he wrestle with Steamboat under a mask?
Yes, but they played it off as if it was Shane Douglas.
Right.
So I think that was all he did in '93.
Okay, but he was still with the company in '93.
I think he might have had one show. It might have been a one-off.
Okay, all right.
We're going to investigate this more in depth.
Regardless, I think
he wasn't a regular in '93.
By the mid-'90s, Tom Zink was definitely done with WCW, and he kind of left.
He was
wrestling.
Back in Minnesota. Think about cuddling with.
Do you think there was a romantic relationship, or you think it was just?
Well, I've heard some things about Rick and Tom. I don't know.
Rick is French Canadian.
You've said that before. I don't know why.
I just have a feeling that French Canadians are a little more
anxious to say we.
Well, they are a little more of an affectionate people.
That's one way to put it, I guess.
Pat Patterson. You know, I mean, I don't know about the Rougeaus or Dino Bravo, but
never heard anything like that about Dino or Raymond.
Oh, Jacques.
Well, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Oh, fans, I tell you, I hope if you're in the Northeast, you are going to join us live next Saturday night, November the 13th. We have so much fun stuff planned for you guys. We have so much great video content, even if you're out of the Northeast, for you to enjoy. I can't wait to be able to sleep again. I am exhausted. But for you guys, you're worth it, because we can only have a 20th anniversary once, I think.
I would imagine.
Unless we get the, what's that thing called? The DeLorean and go back in time.
Ooh. This match is a little rough. Bobby seems to be
beautiful.
Well, Bobby's beautiful, but it seems like Z-Man's a little kind of not centered, and Bobby's trying to keep him on track.
I'd like to know what that ramp is made out of.
I wonder what it was.
How stiff it was. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, to see if it was stiff, it was a little padded. What exactly are we working with?
Did you think that? Well, I just want to go back to Zink for a second. First of all, did you think when he left, there was still, like, you think he left any money on the table, or it was one of those things where he burned his bridges by that point?
In WWF?
Well,
or
after
WCW?
he left WCW. After he left.
I mean, you're talking about, it was within a year of him leaving us, so you're talking about it was a whole new generation in WWF.
Well,
I mean, the Hogan Brigade came in.
Also,
I don't know what kind of a place he would have had in the company.
Also, I would have to say that you know, maybe by that point he was never looked at it high enough on the card to be, well, do we really need Tom Zink? But it seemed like once he left wrestling, he had a very better taste in his mouth about it.
That's one way to put it.
Well, he went on interviews and talked about.
He was one of the first to shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was out there
before
saying his piece.
Right? I think he might have been before those guys.
Yeah.
Now, the first shoot tape, isn't that Eddie Gilbert? Eddie Gilbert might have had the first shoot interview tape back in like '94.
Either him or Jesse Ventura, I think, were the first.
You know, I know Honky Tonk Man was really big in the late like '99 or whatever. Oh, beautiful leg drop, no pun intended. Bobby was looking pretty good here physically.
Yeah, the fans, you know, they should thank Bobby Eaton for what he did to his hips doing that move for their enjoyment. JR worried about his social plans. I need the old Marty phone for a second.
Did you think Tom Zink any social plans with Rick Martel around this time?
Maybe Rick was watching at home. I don't. Oh wait, there's some releases in WWE. Did you hear about this?
You know, I just
Stick a
got
fork
this
in Karrion Kross, I guess.
What?
Wow.
Karrion Kross?
Now, this is a guy that I thought...
Weren't we just talking about him a couple months back?
I remember saying someday they're going to have an outstanding over-the-top entrance for him at a WrestleMania. Now he could be at Memorial Hall.
Well,
the poor bastard.
Well, I remember us watching that Samoa Joe match at the NXT TakeOver back in August, and we said he lost, and we said, okay, he's going to go to the main roster, and we said we were excited about what they can do with him, and they just dropped him like a bad habit.
You know what? There was a reason I went on this phone, and I completely have gone off track. Beautiful Bobby comes away with the victory. Beautiful Bobby. Oh, holy shit.
How many people?
Wow.
A lot of people?
Karrion Kross, Nia Jax, Johnny Gargano, not a surprise. Lucha House Party, Frankie. Who the fuck is Frankie?
Oh, that's Frankie Monet. That's the Valkyrie. Is that Tara Valkyrie?
Oh.
Is that Tara Valkyrie?
Ember Moon, Keith Lee, and former MWF superstar Oney Lorcan.
They really cleaned house, huh?
I wonder if any of these talents would be available. Well, I shouldn't say that out loud. The mind is certainly stirring, and I still haven't done what I wanted to do, which was use the calculator.
Well, wait a minute. Isn't what's his name?
They're bringing out all the St. Louis NWA legends. Dick the Bruiser.
Wow.
Because of this man, Bruiser Brody would not be referred to as Bruiser Brody in St. Louis. I don't know if you knew that.
What do they call him, King Kong Brody?
Yes, they would not let him know.
Still has that voice. Wow, so a lot of names on that list. Anything that comes out when you hear those names, I mean, I think you mentioned Gargano.
I mean, his contract is up within the month, so they probably said,
he's not coming back, yeah.
But you know what my thing is? To have him do jobs on the way out.
Yeah, what happened to that? What happened to people doing jobs?
Every one of them should have been. I don't know what their last matches were. I haven't been able to see much WWE television of late, getting ready for our anniversary event. But man,
well,
I mean, to have him take the 3 count.
Let me. I'm just going to read B-Fab. Who's B-Fab?
B-Fab?
That's one of the
releases.
Let's see what happens here. I don't have all the names in front of me. I'm trying.
It's a hell of a trophy.
All right. Well, Ember Moon had a little bit of a push for a little bit.
I think maybe the injury bug they finally had enough of.
But you know, the problem now is there's so many women there. None of them stand out. None of them do. Scarlett and Karrion Kross, I'm surprised they pulled the plug back quickly. Keith Lee, they just brought back. Surprised a little bit there. Oney Lorcan, he was just a stable guy, doing stuff with Pete Dunne. Gargano, yeah, he was probably going to leave anyway. Gargano was never going to get above where he was. Who else was on that list?
From New Zealand.
I can't remember who else.
This was that lousy tag team title, a tag team tournament, I should say they did.
Pat O'Connor Cup.
Yeah, I think our good friend that'll be appearing Saturday night, November the 13th, is in this.
Our good friend.
You know what? I'm going to guess that the reason they did all this beheading today was because I believe the quarterly conference call was today, as far as for the shareholders, because I got a notice because I'm a shareholder, obviously.
On WWE?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why they did this tournament at Starrcade, I have no idea.
One thing about the releases, do you think that they even know that far ahead of time? It seems like they just make them on a whim now. Like they talk about someone on a Monday and then on Tuesday they're like, yeah, remember that conversation yesterday?
It's going to be pretty quick. I mean,
because they have people on TV, that week. That's the crazy thing. Remember back when people got released, you wouldn't see them on TV unless they were doing jobs. And even then they would job out and then they'd go away and then they got released.
I think this is hysterical. Eva Marie apparently is on this list, who they just brought back. Harry Smith, who never even returned to TV.
That was $1 million player right there if they used him right.
You want to know the funny thing?
Not $1 million, but he could have done something.
He was scheduled at one point to main event Survivor Series 2007 against Shawn Michaels.
It was like a 10-year.
Yep.
Where was that Survivor Series? Because unless it's in Montreal or Canada, I don't think anyone would give a damn.
I don't remember. I remember 08 was in Boston, and it was terrible.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I get the idea, but did anyone give a damn about Harry Smith in 2007? He was a tag team guy.
Yeah. I think Sergeant Kruger is Rocco Rock, if I remember right.
Right, guy right there. I think that's Rocco Rock. Yeah, he looks like Rocco Rock. The Kid, Rocco Rock.
These weren't regular tag teams in WCW. If you're not an old 1990 WCW fan.
Do you have?
I remember when this was another. I didn't get this one. I think this was one of the pay-per-views where my father's friend recorded it and passed the tape along on the Monday the day after. And I remember being very bored with a lot of these pointless matches of guys that I didn't know, weren't built up on TV, and had the tournament just to say, oh, we're having an international tournament.
Well, we know who's going to go over here. Did you?
Sergeant Kruger.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, were you a fan of any sort of WCW era? Like, what's your favorite WCW era in the whole history of the company? Or is it something you have to go back and say, well, going back and fresh eyes now, Nitro era? Or are we talking maybe Watts? Or do you like Jim Crockett's? Would you even count Jim Crockett era?
Are you counting WCW from when Ted Turner took it over?
You do this. Count it when Turner took over, or count it from like 80, like Starrcade 83, 84-ish, when there was Jim Crockett.
I think 89 was a great year. Yeah. 89 was a fantastic, fantastic year for all of wrestling. WWF had a great year in 1989. It's a shame that the territories were pretty much dead at that point.
Right.
AWA, I think it was hanging on by a thread. World Class was still alive technically, but I mean, as far as doing any kind of big business,
Memphis was on the decline for sure.
Memphis was on the decline.
Yeah.
For about 20 years.
Well, I mean,
they just kept staying alive.
They had good business. They would go up and down, depending on what was going on.
Number 3. Yeah. Hey, look at this. I missed it. Michael Chani Jr., bring back real wrestling. Michael, where are you from, brother? Saturday night, November the 13th, Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts. Put sports entertainment in your back pocket. We're going to have a live wrestling event and fan fest with memories that'll last you a lifetime. We thank you for the donation, as well as Ha Ha Geo, favorite territory from back in the mid-70s to the mid-90s. Now, is that a question, or are you saying that WCW /NWA /Georgia, I guess, would be the incarnations of this promotion?
I would say WCW's roots came from Georgia and Jim Crockett Promotions.
TBS.
Yeah. And then you got to mention the TBS Black Saturday, which was what a weird time. I'm
sorry, I'm just checking up with you guys. We're getting the news of all these releases in WWE, and I'm fascinated where we have the live event coming up. Cross in Scotland.
That was something else. Just went right over the top rope, landed. kind of on his head, Rocco Rock.
Rocco Rock, I at one point worked under a mask and was
The Cheetah
kind
Kid?
of a cannonball, or
I thought it was the Cheetah Kid, or was that something else?
maybe that was it. But he was kind of well known for his flying. The only thing he's doing right now is flying for the Steiners' power moves, as he certainly looks out of place. He would return to WCW in January of '96 after leaving ECW as part of Public Enemy. Now, how do you not like that move?
That was a great move. You know, I think about Scott, and they talked about how we talked about that heel turn. I remember he had that match with Flair, and I watched that a few months ago, and I actually believe Ric Flair kind of, I don't know if he intentionally did it or subconsciously did it, but he effed over Scotty in that. Did not take his moves well, went on the offense way too long, did not make him look that good, and I think that was kind of the end of anything for a main event push for Steiner. I don't know if anyone else feels that way. If anyone in the chat has a comment on that Steiner-Flair match, I think it was a Clash of Champions in early '91, maybe. It didn't make Steiner look good. I think Flair kind of sabotaged him a little bit.
Florida probably began to decline 85, 86-ish. Once Jim Crockett really didn't want to start to share all of his NWA talent and was really trying to make a push to compete with WWE. I'm in the middle of texting some important people. Not that
Chris Adams and Norman Smiley. I'm just sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, Lord. Norman Smiley.
Norman Smiley hasn't aged in about 30 years. And Chris Adams, well,
he was a gentleman until he shot himself.
Very interesting life story, that guy.
Now, I don't even remember Adams as being a regular in WCW at this point.
He had runs throughout the 90s. I know he was there in the late 90s for a time.
To me, Adams was, he was more of a world-class guy. Smiley, I had no idea who he was.
Well, he was in Mexico with Vampiro and Conan. Speaking of Conan. And Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio.
This is Rey Mysterio's uncle. And he's almost as big as...
Are you sure?
Yes. This is almost.
I thought his uncle's name was Rey Mysterio too, and he took it over.
Well, this was his
Rey
uncle.
Mysterio, but they just, unless they spelled it wrong, that was Rey Mysterio.
Oh no, they spelled it wrong.
Or Mystrick. I don't think that's him.
That's not Rey. That's Rey. There's no such thing as a Rey Mysterio, is there? If there is, I'll laugh.
Any Mexican fans watching tonight?
That's got to be Rey Mysterio.
No, I don't think so.
Are you a Lucha fan at all? Lucha Libre fan? I can't really watch too much of it. I just don't get it.
It's one of those things where I'd enjoy it more if there was more selling.
Well, you know what I see now in the Americans, especially in AEW. Oh God, Conan was juicing hard, wasn't he? That back knee.
Yeah.
Is that the guy hits the ropes instead of hitting a clothesline, they do the backhand, they do the back tap.
Oh yeah,
I hate that. I think it looks so fake. Would you do that in a fight?
Yeah, it is. It's that Cirque du Soleil type wrestling that I can appreciate what they do. I mean, it's tremendous athleticism, but it's not my cup of tea. It was around the time Desi tickets.
I think.
Hold on one sec. Gio, you are correct. Probably the best way to put it is the real time when Florida went down the tubes was when Eddie Graham decided to take his life. Super Bowl Sunday in 1986 when the New England Patriots,
was that 85?
Their beating was almost as bad as what happened to Eddie Graham when they lost to the Chicago Bears.
Was that 85 though?
February of 86, I believe, or January of 86.
I thought that was 86.
Well, I was in kindergarten. I remember, funny enough, I still remember we were making little drawings that said "Squish the Fish," because I think the Patriots played the Dolphins in the playoffs that year. Yeah, Joe, you're right. Back acne galore on that one. He's going to need a little Stridex. Isn't the name of that gimmick for the pimples?
Yeah,
did they not sell that
There's quite
anymore?
a few. There's quite a few out
Quite a few. Just like all the releases.
Yes.
Folks, what do you think of all the WWE releases, or do you not care? Are you out of the loop when it comes to WWE? I heard from one of our great fans. I can't message everybody back in the middle of the show, but what? Wait, is that the animal Quincy Rastani? No, apparently not.
He frightens me, everyone.
Quincy frightens you?
A little bit. Let me ask you, if you're in a room with Dylan Cage and Quincy Rastani, great bridge by Norman.
Oh my God.
Who's leaving that room first?
What was the question again?
Who leaves out of the room between Quincy Rastani and Dylan Cage? Oh.
As much as I hate Dylan, it would be interesting conversations, I think.
That's for sure. Now, what will Quincy be
Quincy
doing?
is a man of God, though. I don't know what he'd think of Dylan's take to the dark side.
Well, I have to say this, Dan. I will be at the Memorial Hall in 11/13, and I will be, doing a couple of things here and there. But
I don't things. What are you going to do?
Well, I mean, I'll be talking with the fans.
Oh, all right.
Talking to some of the talent
something else.
No, nothing out of school. But what I'm asking or what I'm saying is, I don't know if I can keep an eye on Quincy at all times. And
Quincy can be a challenge.
And he's going to be there.
He's very excited about the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive raffle.
He won't know anyone
One of Quincy's official assignments is drawing the winning raffle ticket. He gets very excied about that.
Is the irony lost upon? I think last week it was a hilarious impression when you talked about how Paul Bearer did not appreciate Quincy's.
No, it took almost to his death,
and
for Paul Bearer to walk up to Quincy.
Beautiful bridges by Norman. But is the irony not lost upon you that he's the one picking the winner of the event?
Of course.
Yeah, well. But that impression of when you were talking about how Alan hates Quincy.
He really did for a long time.
What was he like personality-wise? He talked to so many.
Quincy?
No, well, I know about Quincy, but Paul Bearer and Percy Pringle, what was he like? You talked so glowingly about him here and there, but what was it about him that you really particularly took to? And did you guys become friends off the bat, or was it a long, slow build?
Right off the bat.
And
there was something that just clicked.
And how did you meet him?
I met him for the first time in the locker room at the Old Garden in November, the same weekend as our event. I think it was the 12th in 1994. He was around WWF at the time when I was there. I think he was working. He wasn't an on-screen talent at that point. He was behind the scenes.
They kind of got rid of him after 98 on-screen wise. I think after 98 he really wasn't around.
No,
was he in 99?
He was in 90. He was in 2000. He came back with Kane.
Okay.
And then between his own health issues, his wife's health issues, he did some work behind the scenes. He did a lot of scouting. He actually scouted John Cena in California back in 2001-ish. So that's probably the time he was done. And then he left the company in 2002. Then they wanted him back in 2003 when they were getting ready to groom Undertaker, but his weight had ballooned to over 500 pounds. So it was kind of a quote-unquote signing bonus. They paid for his gastric bypass surgery.
He was that big at that point?
525 he hit.
And he wasn't a tall man.
Probably bigger than you'd think.
Paul Bearer?
Yeah.
What is it, 6'1"?
In the ballpark.
Okay, that's bigger than I think. Yeah. Well, you know what it was? Because he was next to Undertaker and Kane for so long. And those guys are just, much taller than the average bear.
18 total talents apparently were released. And I'm trying to think of who I would have interest in at our next MWF group meetings.
Don't they have no competes?
Slim pickings.
Aren't there?
If I asked them if they could do a shot for us, I don't think it would be a problem.
Is there anyone that you think that you would like to bring in?
Next week?
Well, maybe not next week, but is there anyone, let me ask this, is there anyone you wouldn't care to bring in, or should I not ask that question?
Nia Jax?
Nia Jax could be interesting as sort of like the person who eats the chicken's head. Like the viscera of her day.
I'm not familiar with all of the NXT releases. I'd love to see Oney Lorcan again. Is Biff Busick back with us?
What about
Lucha House Party? If they were in the area, I wouldn't go crazy. I wouldn't, with the powers that be, I would not suggest big money. Oh, God! That miserable.
Not a fan of Terry Reynolds?
That. I'm not even.
What is up with you and Terry Reynolds?
I have more hatred for that woman than anyone I've ever dealt with in wrestling.
Oh, really? Really?
Worse than Piggott.
Let me ask you, who do you hate more, her or Ron Simmons?
Oh, please.
What did she do to you?
That might be for the book or the shoot interview. I hate Terry Reynolds.
Can you summarize it in a few sentences?
Hate Terry Reynolds.
Out of all
I wish I was a woman so I could beat the fuck out of Terry Reynolds. I do not, again, note what I said. I do not condone man-on-woman violence. I think it's horrible. But if I could become a woman and have a cat fight with her, I would beat the fuck out of Terry Reynolds. I hate Terry Reynolds.
Oh my God.
That
folks,
filthy lying pig.
Folks, I know he's going off, but it is words cannot express the amount of violent hatred that's irradiating from this man right now. I'm actually turning my body away because I'm so taken back by this. I didn't know you disliked Terry Reynolds that much.
Oh, the worst of any of them. Any of the ones that have crossed us and screwed us over.
Who in the
Gio, would you both go to WWF events from 1995 to 1995, 85 to 95? And if so, do you remember seeing Jack Tunney? Jack Tunney wasn't on the road full time. He was pretty much at TV tapings if they needed him for angles. I don't ever remember him at Boston Garden House shows. First show I ever attended in Boston was August of 86, and I never missed one until the building closed in May of 95. And I could recite to you the top 3, 4, 5 matches every month on those shows, and I couldn't tell you what happened last month on Raw. Last week on Raw. We can't. Albert, what do you mean? You can't even see it or hear it. You can't hear or see us? A watch along means it's like a second screen experience. You watch Starrcade 90 on WWE Network or however you may watch it, and you watch along with us as we provide commentary on the show and everything else going on in wrestling. Does that make sense to you, Albert? We certainly can't take WWE's own footage and put it on here. Mike, how are you? I'm going to guess you're from Chi-Town, the way you worded that message. A great wrestling city, if I've ever known one. And it's great to see the great Muda. And Mr. Saito, after he got out of jail with Ken Patera.
Would you say Muda's up there for greatest Japanese pro wrestler? Or at least, maybe not of all time, but
I don't have the knowledge.
Years.
I don't have the knowledge. I know he's one of my favorites, but I don't know Japanese wrestling like I know American wrestling.
I think strictly out of the last 30 years, he's just out of the last 30 years, from what I've seen, he's the most interesting guy. Except Liger, maybe, because I liked Liger a lot.
WCW really wasted him.
And Muda was a bigger guy than people realize. He was not a small man.
I think I told you, I met him at, I think it was the Dallas WrestleCon. And I don't even know if he understood. I don't know how versed he is in English. Yeah. It was maybe 10 seconds. But, it was kind of, I wouldn't have minded a picture. I'm going to be dead at some point. That's one thing. I wish I could go back in time and get pictures with so many guys at the Cauliflower Rally Club that have passed away. And
Flair talked very glowingly about working with him. I remember that.
He was superb.
But Muda back then was athletic. He was young. He was a good-looking guy underneath all the paint. He was a great body, really good in shape. He was a good-looking guy underneath all the paint. You ever see Muda young without the paint on? He was a good-looking guy.
I've never gone out of my way to see it, believe it or not.
There's pictures of him online.
All right, well, I'm going to have to dig them up then and see if he is quite this...
He's a strapping young lad. He was better looking than a guy like Kawada or Misawa.
Tim Foley, you are correct about what you wrote in your message, by the way, if you're still with us. Fans, share the link across social media. We appreciate those that have super chatted. We are hungry people. We got to eat at some point. Quincy Rustani is in Studio A tonight. I don't know if he's going to make his way over here for us.
Quincy seemed very quiet he just seemed very
The
quiet.
shirt was untucked and the newt was poking out.
The newt?
Hey, Gio, worst idea. Brawl for all or invasion angle?
Oh.
You know what? I'm going to say invasion angle because it killed the company to this day. Brawl for all was just a bad concept that played out on TV.
Do you think the invasion angle really killed the company to this day?
Yes.
How would it be to this day? I think a lot of other things have helped.
Since the bell rang at WrestleMania 17, outside of a couple of blips when they went a year with JBL and Triple H as the champion and then went with two baby faces with Cena and Batista, business has been on an enormous decline. An enormous decline.
I agree with you. And I think that the invasion angle was poorly done. But I think that they've done so many bad things since then that have never helped it. Katie Vick was
obviously, once it was dead at Survivor Series 01, in that almost 20 years, if they had a chance to turn things around, they have a chance to turn things around every week.
How are they doing
with
ticket sales? They
lack the patience and pacing to do it. What'd you say?
How are they doing for ticket sales for the Survivor Series right now? It's what, 2 weeks away?
Still not even close to sold out from what I'm told.
Before Thanksgiving? Or is that Sunday after Thanksgiving? I can't remember.
The Sunday before.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that the funny thing is, okay, we've seen some bad angles. Katie Vick was pretty bad. That was a bad angle.
But that wasn't something that played out long. I'm talking about the big angles. I mean, that was something on TV for a week.
That was like a 6-month angle, that invasion angle, right? 6-7 months?
Yeah. And it was horrible.
Spring to fall of 01.
No, it didn't even start that early. That's how quick it was. You're talking about the first time they really did anything with them was I think it was the first Monday in July of 01. When they did Booker T against Bagwell as the main event on Raw.
Oh, right.
With Scott Hudson and Arn Anderson. And I was there at the Tacoma Dome.
It wasn't that bad of a match.
Now, the place was dead.
No,
it was like a morgue.
I agree. But the match itself wasn't technically that bad. People act like it was a bad match. Nobody cared about the match, but it wasn't a bad match.
Bagwell, they had a good match. Come on.
Booker T was good. Bagwell was good. I mean, I just don't think they cared. They should have done that match in Atlanta where they were the week earlier, the week after, I think it was. That's what they should have done that match. They didn't want that to get over.
Well, the original plan was, because SmackDown was on network television, WWF was going to be on SmackDown, and they were going to turn Raw into a WCW show, which would have been fascinating to see play out.
But Vince didn't want to get
as someone that was there at that time, it changed weekly what was going to happen. First, the big high hope was that WCW was going to be Raw. Then the idea was they were trying to get another 2 hours. Once they realized they didn't want to give Raw up for WWF, but they didn't want to put WCW on the network TV show.
And I'd agree. I would think that'd be a dumb thing to give up Raw.
Personally. Then they tried to get another 2-hour block on, what the hell was the name of the channel at that point? TNN. They wanted to turn it into a Saturday night show. Like, I don't remember if it was 9 or 11 o'clock. It was odd. And I didn't think that was going to work, period. And they never went that route. And they never did anything. Well, Great Muta and Mr. Masa Saito. I just still, as I sit here watching this, why did they bother to do this tournament? I wouldn't have put these matches on, maybe on TV, but I mean, imagine doing a WrestleMania, having half of the show with a bunch of guys nobody knows.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, I mean, WrestleMania did have some cold matches, but at least guys were known, Like WrestleMania 3, people knew who Butch Reed and Coco Beware were, but
the Pat O'Connor Memorial International Tag Team Tournament. I'd love to know where this idea emanated from.
I guess it was Pat O'Connor.
Well, I think he was dead at this point, so I don't think it was Pat's idea, but I could be wrong. Michael, I lived in Door County, Wisconsin, when Patera threw the 500-pound boulder. Saito was in the hotel laughing my ass off. Love Kenny. Ken Patera is a great guy. One of my favorite dinners I've ever had in pro wrestling was with Ken Patera and Terry Funk at the TGI Fridays at the Gold Coast Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. When Patera and I sat for almost an hour ourselves, then Funk came in and wanted to hang with Patera, and I just sat there and listened, and I had the time of my life. I remember Bo Douglas came in towards the tail end of it, and Mrs. Funk wanted to dance with Captain Groveler. I don't know if he thought if Dickie Funk was going to pay for his meal, because Bo is known to have an affinity for free meals, cigarettes, and coffee. But
oh my God!
I just remember
did he whisper to you?
Bo was with a group of, I'm going to say indie guys at a couple of tables away. And Vicky, this is like 1 o'clock in the morning now. And Vicky Funk comes in and goes, "Anybody want to dance?" Right up by Captain.
What year is this?
I think Bo went in 09 and 10. So one of those 2 years.
So this was a young Bo Douglas.
No, he was my age, so he was probably late 20s. Or early 30s, depending upon the year.
29, 30.
Now look at these. Who the fuck are these two?
I couldn't.
Bull Johnson and Troy Montour. Well, the Indian guy is in tremendous physical shape.
Look at those chunks. The state
He's
of his
got a little
chunks.
wolf over his crotch.
Is that a bear?
I don't know what this is.
Not favored against, that's all it wrote. Not favored against the USSR.
Even the stat sheet doesn't have much to say about Danny Johnson and Troy Montour.
Who's going to be in USSR? Sold out Ustinov?
Oh, and look at these two. That guy looks like he could be pumping gas at Getty.
And we talk about the wrestlers
Zangief
today.
and Salmon. And they wonder why they never drew.
Whose idea was this?
I don't know.
Was this wasn't her? Was this Hurd's?
He was still around.
This couldn't be Hurd's idea.
It's funny. Jim Ross just said that about the Olympics. Maybe they were thinking Olympic style. I don't know. Just garbage. I'm still so interested in these.
Oh gosh. Well, sweater by Darwin over here. Even Jim Ross is like, what am I doing here?
How do you put over match after match after match of people that nobody knows?
Look at the hair on this guy. My gosh.
Probably a very sweaty man.
Sweater by Darwin.
Oh, with Chubby over there. It's just it's an insult to the fans to pay that money.
I've seen
to go and see that show.
Indie wrestlers that looked better than this.
I hate to say it. I don't know who it was, or what match it was, but Doink the Clown was competed on this show.
Matt Bourne.
No.
Ray Apollo?
Ray Apollo, the one that'll be with us on Saturday night, November the 13th, at Memorial Hall in Melrose. Maybe he was Rocco Rock's partner in the Africans.
You know what? I'm going to say this. One thing I like about modern wrestling, granted on the independent scene, it may not be this way, but on television, you don't see as many out of shape looking guys or guys who look as bad as this. Even AEW, they've got guys who are athletic looking. They look more like underwear models, They look like guys who should be in videos like Twinks Gone Wild 17, but at least they look athletic and they look good in their gear. These two women are getting up. Look, people getting. They could not care. Wonder what the payoffs were for these guys. A hot dog.
I'm gonna guess very cheap. What's that?
A hot dog and a can of Coke.
$750 maybe. That's a kind of a semi-educated guess,
Wow,
but not much.
This is actually pretty cool. He's doing some bridge work. I mean, this guy looks like, I'm sure these guys could actually wrestle. You know, they could actually go on the mat, but like
they should have just tried to build it up and make people say, geez, I actually want to see this, as opposed to, I mean, garbage. No one knows who these people are.
Oh! Damn right, we're going to be seeing this on November the 13th.
I would rather see the talent we have lined up November 13th than this horrific.
I will say this:
and you know what? For all I know, I don't know these people. They might not be that bad. You know,
well, the guy in
Rocco
the blue
Rock
singlet,
was solid, and
I bet you
wherever Ray Apollo was, he wasn't all that bad.
The guy in the blue singlet, the hairy guy, could actually wrestle. I could say that much.
Here comes the powerhouse.
Yeah, little Mighty Mouse. And the guy from the Village People. Oh, gosh. You know, not one card was missed between the four of these guys.
Albert said, was this the tag team of the Universe tournament? No, this was the Pat O'Connor Memorial Tag Team Tournament that wasn't very memorable because you couldn't even remember who was in it. Well, I'm gonna try and get off my kick of being fascinated by all these releases.
I can safely say, you know, when I watch wrestling, I always try to say, okay, who's in the best shape, or can I look better than any of these guys? And I think
you're in better shape than all of them, CW. I've seen
sure.
some of your Facebook photos.
Thank you.
Risque
thank
Facebook
you.
photos.
I tried at 100. I'm about 175 now. I'm trying to get down to 160.
Oh, you're trying to go down?
Trying to go down a little bit.
Even though
I've never been lean. I like to be lean once.
Well, many have said they think you're on the gas, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, listen, Rick Rude was on the gas. He was pretty lean, but
now that one worked a little better, but
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. You know, one day I'll come in with some.
I'd probably look more like that guy if I took one of your Facebook photos.
Wait, what happened?
Did he submit? Did he tap? I'm sure the fans were very impressed by that. It's Danny Johnson, or whatever his name was, goes,
oh, landed very high.
Dear Lord. 1, 2. Well, no, I guess it didn't even look like he counted from the hot cam. Odd. I don't know. All I know is that I have no interest in this.
When you picked the Starrcade, did you know this was on there, or is it just more like, we'll just pick 90? Because I can't see you knowing this would happen and picking the show.
Oh, I remembered this was part of the show. I just didn't remember it was quite this bad.
This might be the worst show we've ever reviewed.
Well, we got to wait until we see the normal WCW matches, I guess. They came up with a lot of bad concepts for Starrcade. They did that, what was the name of it?
The round robin thing, right?
The Battle Bowl. I don't know if you're familiar with Battle Bowl.
I've heard of it.
They did, I think that was 92. 95, they did like a United States versus Japan type show.
Yeah.
Which, again,
right.
Nobody was familiar with most of the guys, even though they did do a pretty good triple threat match for the main event for the title. But the Flair, and I think it was Flair, Macho, and Sting already worked the Japanese guys earlier in the show, so they'd already been seen. I mean, this is your WrestleMania. I don't know why.
Yeah.
You know, you look at 97, 98, they did a superb job in building up Starrcade.
98 Starrcade, I had that on VHS. That was a great show. great show. And I know people will talk about the Goldberg finish. I know Kevin Sullivan's gone on record saying that I actually liked that finish with Goldberg and Nash because it definitely popped the crowd. And I think it kind of made people wonder what's going to happen next in a good way.
Well, you know what? I think maybe that was the way to do it, to have him lose for the first time, but it was the wrong time to do it.
You don't think it was the biggest show of the year?
He was too hot at that point. I wouldn't have had him lose.
Would you have? Well, I think Nash. Well, I understand what you're saying, but I think it was a pretty good. I think Nash would have been. Look how Terry Taylor looked great. Mike Rotunda looked good here. He looked kind of lean in the jawline.
Well, he's in a suit. It's really hard to tell.
And then you have Terry Runnels, who looked like heinous anus. I like Terry Taylor a lot.
Has a lot to say about that.
I like Terry Taylor. Very, very great worker, smooth, underrated.
You know, a lot of people don't like him personally, but I tell you this, I like Terry Taylor personally an awful lot. Very, maybe you have to understand his sense of humor or his wit.
Sarcastic?
Yeah, and but I have nothing but nice things to say about Terry Taylor when we did work with TNA back in the late 2000s when he was the head of talent relations.
Is he similar to personality as Al Snow?
No, not at all.
Really?
Two very different people.
I feel like from what I've seen of Al Snow, he would be very similar to Al Snow.
No. I remember Jay Lethal called me the day he got released, and he exploded about Terry Taylor.
Didn't like Terry Taylor.
Well, he wasn't happy he was released for one, but it was like, you know, Terry Taylor was his boss. Terry Taylor was never my boss. So, you know, I guess you have to look at it from two different points of view.
But was Terry Taylor the guy who called and said you're released? Did he have that axe spot where he had to?
Yeah, he was the Jim Ross of TNA. He was the head of talent relations.
Now it's, you know, but no one's ever going to like that spot. I mean, they got in WWE. Is it Carrano still in that spot?
Oh, he's gone. He got canned during Trash Bag Gate.
Oh, right, yeah.
No, Johnny Ace John Laurinaitis is back as the talent relations head.
Did you?
And I tell you this, for all the people that knock him, I think Johnny Ace is great. My interactions with him have been 110% positive. He's helped us, we've helped them, and that's why we have such a nice relationship. Michael Wall Street can't even get his gimmick off.
Yeah, doesn't he look a little leaner than he normally did? He looks a little bit, even the jawline, he looked a little bit, it seemed like he got a little heavier as IRS.
Even though he was under the suit, he was probably on the gas.
Yeah, well.
Now, I'm not quite sure what the gimmick is here in this match. Terry Taylor, was it like a challenge? I remember they used to do the gimmick where she'd look at her computer and, oh, please. She'd look at it, I can only imagine what was on her computer.
Can you give me a little snippet of one thing Terry Reynolds did that pissed you off?
It was only one weekend.
One interaction
the Saturday at Memorial Hall and the Sunday here.
Just was.
And you want to know what was even worse before having this Dennis Brent? I still forgot to message for Dennis. I put him over on every one of these we do, and I still haven't messaged him. Gosh. I love Dennis Brent.
So what did she do? I know you're saving this for the book, but I just need a snippet.
It's nothing. This isn't the right platform for it. Because I'm going to get angry and I'm going to go wild. I'm interested in watching some great professional wrestling here at Starrcade. I think they would do a gimmick where, what was her name? Alexandra York's computer says that he'll win in 9 minutes and 25 seconds or something like that.
No, we talked a little bit about Goldberg. When would you have had Goldberg lose and who to? If you could, how would you book that? I know Kevin Sullivan was very big on having him lose in a legitimate way when he's lost a little bit of steam, you know, clean basically. I'll say this. Nash beating Goldberg in Starrcade was to me, made more sense than Lesnar beating Taker at Mania. I think that was a worse.
Well, as much as I hate that, there was a reason for it.
But there's a reason for Goldberg and Nash.
But what was it? They never did a follow-up program.
They were supposed to.
Nash lost the title a week later.
I don't blame Nash for that. I blame work doesn't work for me, brother.
But what I'm saying is that there was no follow-up to it.
Goldberg hurt his hand.
When he came back, there was no follow-up to it.
Well,
it was a waste of time.
Well,
it was a waste of an angle. It killed the business for them. That was their WrestleMania 17.
No, I don't know if that would kill them completely. I think other things too.
Between that and 2 weeks later doing that nonsense with Hogan and Nash in front of 40,000 people.
I'm not talking what they did after. I'm talking the idea of him losing to Nash at Starrcade. I think was a good idea, and they fucked it up.
It was too soon. He was too fucking hot.
They were already booing him out of certain buildings at that point, though.
Where? When?
Booing him up here?
I don't ever remember that happening.
Well, didn't they? What was that WCW building they'd run in New York? I forget where they ran. Uniontown?
Uniondale, Long Island?
Uniondale, that might have been it.
I don't remember it, and I'm not saying it didn't happen, but New York crowds are finicky.
I mean, I'm not saying every place booed him. He was still over, but I'm saying it's the biggest show of the year. Nash was just as hot as Goldberg, I'd say. They were pretty.
No,
Nash was over.
In '98, no. Because you want to know what it is? In '98, they fucked with the NWO so much, it was dead.
Oh, no,
when
the
they
NWO.
Did black and white, red and black,
listen,
blah, blah.
I agree with you. By January, okay, people in the comments section, what are your thoughts on Goldberg Nash at Starrcade 98? Tell us how you would have booked it, if you would have kept it the same, what you thought about that angle. I think if you're going to do it, not saying that was the only choice, but it wasn't a terrible idea. They just fucked up the end afterwards. I'll say this was a better finish than Starrcade 97. Starrcade 97
No,
really
I'll say, you know
over.
what? If you were going to beat the guy, that was kind of a good way to do it without him losing too much steam. But he was too hot for them. You heard what I said.
No, I heard what you said. My deal is, I think I agree with you. What they did after was terrible, but that night was fine. If it would have led somewhere, it would have been fine. Yeah. How would you have done it, though, Mr. Booker of the Year?
I'm just trying to think of the roster at that point, and there was no one I would have had him lose to at that point. He wasn't hot at that point.
Brett?
I don't think he was ever hot in WCW.
Benoit? Sid?
Please.
Wow, Benoit.
I'll tell you this. If you want to go back in WCW history, a surprisingly very, very, very good match. I believe it's Halloween Havoc 99. Right after Bischoff left, between Goldberg and Sid. It was a tremendous, definitely not a technical match, but for what it was, shockingly good. Shockingly good. Tim Fuller says I would have kept Goldberg strong. Matt Schmidt, I heard Red Rooster had AIDS. I never heard that one.
Oh, Jesus.
And he's kept himself in tremendous physical condition if he ever contracted that disease. I don't know about it. The point of the Red Rooster, he kind of had a cocky attitude, and so they made him a cock-a-doodle-doo, which is kind of sad because I think he could have contributed more in 88, 89 than he did. Then he had that brief comeback in 92 and 93, and nobody cared. Mm-hmm. Would you have liked to have interviewed Chris Benoit, or do you think he wouldn't have been a great interview? From my couple of interactions I had with him in WWF, God, how do you compliment someone? But he was a nice enough guy to me. I think as far as an interview goes, I think he'd be kind of boring.
Oh, Warrior Smurf says Bam Bam Bigelow. I would against Goldberg.
No,
they teased it. They teased it, right? Because Bam Bam's in that finish at Starrcade. Him and Disco Inferno are in the finish. And I love Disco Inferno.
I'll say this: Bam Bam was a great opponent for him to work with, but not the guy to end the streak.
Oh no, I agree. Bam Bam was really one of those guys to me that was a great AAA ball player, but when he got to the majors, he was a mid-card guy.
I'll say this. You know who I probably would have had him job to at some point? Hogan.
Get the fuck out. Hogan?
He was still Hogan. He was still probably the most, other than Goldberg, the most over guy in the company.
I would not. Hogan doesn't need that, right?
I would have done some kind of fuck finish where Goldberg got revenge, and then you build it up for Hogan Goldberg 3.
I get what you're saying, but Hogan would not. I'll take Nash any day over Hogan. Hall?
No. What about you guys? Who would you have had Goldberg lose to and when? Maybe we need to do it during a more later WCW theme show. But this was actually a pretty good match between Michael Wall Street and one of his 45 names he had in their company, and Terry Taylor, two solid workers. Terry is heavily involved in the WWE Performance Center, which I think is a great thing for the wrestlers under contract in WWE and NXT. And Mike Rotundo was a longtime agent. So, getting ready for Wrestle War 91. Look at that. Now, what a waste.
It looked great. Yeah. Man, I wish I had a body like Sid. Instead well, I wouldn't say that exactly.
What?
Instead of a body more like a young Shannon Moore.
Really? You wanted to be that slim?
No, actually, you think I could get down to Shannon Moore level? Shannon Moore had a nice
with the
physique.
right diet, with the right exercise program, I'm sure you could.
Because Shannon Moore wasn't a big guy. He was probably about my size.
What is this?
Is that Mr. Hughes?
It looks like an out-of-shape Mr. Hughes and a bootleg indie
Michael
Hayes.
God.
A Motor City Madman. Well, now we see why Curtis Hughes wrestled in a
At
shirt.
this point, I'm ready for John C. Reilly and Howard to come down the pike as the Soy Boys.
I'm waiting for John Cena Sr. to come out in the jumpsuit that he wore when he wrestled Randy Orton on Raw. You know, I wanted to do a watch along with him on that, but he didn't want to do it.
Yeah, he was upset that he lost the match.
Maybe he thought he was going to go over. I don't know. I just remember the love in my heart the night Orton flipped him over the barricade at the Garden and kicked him in the head. That may have been the last time I reacted at a wrestling show. And let me tell you, before that, it was a long time before that I reacted at a wrestling show. But I popped when Randy Orton punted Johnny in the head at the Garden.
Did it make you warm inside? Did it make you?
I mean, I was one of the loudest people in the building.
A kid on Christmas.
Oh, wait, what do we got? Just make sure we don't have any scoops. Oh, wait, we got the junior ambassador, Devon Brent. What's he have to say? He's confirming that Linda's birthday gift arrived. Curtis Hughes had just such a short run in WWF. Him and Undertaker was set to try and do something pretty big, and he was gone by the time they were getting ready to do it. Harvey Wimpleman's faction of Mr. Hughes and Giant Gonzalez didn't last long, as we see a fuck up here between.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sure you noticed that the first time around.
Well, you know.
I'd like to have seen Rustani get in there with Sid and Danny Spivey.
Have you ever watched the match with the two of them against the two jobbers and one wouldn't sell because he was in his hometown or something like that?
Yeah.
That was a great match. Oh, jeez.
These guys are just
by the way,
awful.
Sid,
and you know what? You want to know another problem? They're both too fucking big.
Well,
you're not. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
You're making Sid and Spivey look terrible. They should have put these two losers in their tag team tournament and dressed them up as Africans or Russians or something, and had two smaller guys get squashed by Sid and Spivey. Sid and Spivey were over as the Skyscrapers.
Well, I think Sid was over. I think Spivey was just there. I mean, Spivey was a big guy, but next to Sid, he looked like a jabroni. And why was Sid in a singlet? Sid should always be in trunks. Actually, what's your opinion on wrestling gear? Do you like the trunks, the tights, the singlets? What is it?
Depends on the guy. I like variety.
So what works for, say, a smaller guy, like a 5'7"?
Honestly,
180
the
pound
person.
Okay.
It would have to be the person.
So for you, it's not so much height and weight. It's more what's your body type. I always heard...
what fits you.
Yeah. I heard traditionally, if you could pull off trunks, go with trunks, because trunks are traditional professional wrestling gear. I think if you have a set of legs, you should wear trunks. If you don't have great
Yeah.
legs, I think you should cover
That's
them.
not a bad philosophy.
You know, I know if I was gonna be a pro wrestler, I'd probably wear lawn trunks if anything, or a singlet. I don't think I'd look good in.
I think I'd be a tights guy
Yeah, I think I'd be a tights guy.
when I come out of retirement.
Like Shawn Michaels, for example, he needed to wear tights because trunks would have made his legs too small. You know, things like that. But no, nowadays the gear is so different. It seems to be a little bit more costumey.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like-
Hollywood. Phil, how are you, buddy? No, getaway sticks on you, Charles. No, getaway sticks on you.
Getaway sticks. What about Phil? I'm gonna go back to the chat so I can.
Liz talking about your legs.
My legs. You like my legs?
Do you think they could have done more with Brian Pillman and Steve Austin in WWF? Absolutely. They could have done a lot more with them in WCW.
WWF? They did everything with Austin in WWF. He was the
No, Austin and Pillman.
in WWF. Well, no getaway sticks on you. No. Oh, Phil, do you like my legs? What do you think about my legs, Phil?
Wildfire, Tommy Rich.
Good legs. Thank you. Thank you. So
I have a feeling there isn't going to be a lot of interest in this match coming up. But
this
we'll have
might
to
be
wait
one of the better
and see.
matches, though.
Well, two good workers on this side. I don't know. Maybe they work the Freebirds. I don't know. I don't remember. Oh, yep. The Freebirds. 430 pounds combined. That's kind of light. Usually they would enhance the guys' weights.
So that's what, 215 apiece?
Yeah,
on average?
I would think. I think that I would have guessed they would have announced it higher than that, even if that was
maybe
the
450. No, what was
I'd try and push Morton at around in this era, 225-ish. Tommy Rich, 250.
What do you now? Traditionally, guys were always billed what, an extra inch or two, and an extra 10 to 15 pounds.
Oh, at least.
So, if you had a guy who was legit 5'8" and 180 pounds, you would bill him at what, 5'10", 200?
Yeah.
Really? Because some guys can't pull that off. That's the thing. I think it depends on the guy.
Well, you got to remember what it is we're doing. It's not the Olympics. It's not UFC or boxing. It's
when they say
a form of, along with the action and athleticism, a form of entertainment. You're trying to present something larger than life. So
Right,
you go with larger.
But at the same time, it has to be realistic a little bit. Adam Cole at 215 pounds, would you believe
Please.
that? Well,
Adam, look at Jesus, mother of God, little Richard. Yeah, Phil knows what he's talking about. Hollywood Blondes were great.
oh, they were a great time. And look at those Confederate flags, those beautiful flags.
I'm
that they were
surprised someone
pushing
hasn't
there.
whined and say, "Oh, take that off the network."
I think I think
Oh.
those beautiful. I'm just kidding, everyone. I'm not. Don't get so butthurt over a flag. It's just a piece of fabric
Or a robe in this case.
or a robe. In this case, a sparkly robe.
You
But
will not see a Confederate flag Saturday night, November the 13th at Memorial Hall as we celebrate our 20th anniversary, going back to the 90s. See two-time WWE World Champion Bob Backlund, WWE Hall of Famer Bushwhacker Luke, three-time Women's Champion and Hall of Famer Alundra Blayze, a.k.a. Madusa, former Intercontinental and Tag Team Champion Marty Jannetty, who will be with us at 10 p.m. tonight as we wrap up the year that was WWF 1990. Also going to see Doink the Clown, Duke the Dumpster Droese, Manager Extraordinaire, the Doctor of Style Slick, Portuguese Man of War, Aldo Montoya. Also have other great guests, including two-time Impact Wrestling World Champion Diehard Eddie Edwards, JTG of Cryme Time, who I spoke with today, John Cena Sr., WWF Tag Team Championship Manager in the New Generation, Oscar of Men on a Mission, AEW's Jorah Joel, Myron Reed of Major League Wrestling, ranked number 103 in this year's Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and so much more beyond the VIP Q&A session, the group photo, the autograph fan fest, the white-hot in-ring action. We kick off the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. It is going to be a happening 9 nights. Get your VIP packages and tickets on sale now at bostonwrestling.com. Remember, Saturday, the tickets go up $5. So save a little money, get them now. It's a lot of work the week of the event. We're trying to make it as stressless as possible, and we think giving you guys a bonus $5 helps the cause. I don't know.
I think you did. By the way, great read off, great rundown of the show. There's
That
so
was
many
off
more.
the top of my head. I didn't read that.
Well, there's so many other names that you didn't mention that I remember quite a few of them, to be precise. But I don't want to give away any names. I want to make sure that I don't want to say anything and then the card changes, because sometimes I feel like I'm bad luck for you.
Yes. Well, Big Daddy said, take those flags down. Laughing my ass off.
You know,
Dave is watching from the UK. Salute. Big fan of JTG. Cheer. Now, have you watched our episodes of Wrestling Insider Special Edition with JTG? I'd love to know what you think.
How is Jay the God?
He was great today.
Guys had a good talk?
We had a very interesting talk. He's ready for war.
War?
Beyond autographs and photos, JTG will be competing on November the 13th. He's in the best shape of his career. He is someone I can see on AEW, WWE sooner than later.
He looks great.
Yeah.
Looks great. And he's still got a lot to contribute. I think there's a lot of gas left in that tank. You know, I have to say this for wrestling gear. I think Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin had some great, whatever this was here.
Very sparkly.
I like it. I like sparkly stuff.
They didn't need Little Richard, though.
Well, what was that, Rocky King or Sonny King?
Rocky.
I like Rocky King. He's there for support. What?
Please. Even having Jimmy Garvin as part of the team was insulting.
Was Jimmy Garvin on the gas here?
It doesn't look it.
I don't think so. I hope no one was on the gas here, because no one looked it between. I mean, not one.
Maybe the referee. I don't know.
Not one card was missed between the four of them.
Sonny King used to manage Sheiky Baby. I remember during one of Sheiky Baby's cocaine-induced tirades in Toronto, he put over Sonny King.
Now, Tommy Rich, I believe, was out of WCW in, what, 92, 93?
I think earlier than that. Maybe 91. He wasn't around too much longer after this.
I thought he might have been in the York Foundation.
He was in the York Foundation, yeah.
I like Tommy Rich. I think he should have had a run in WWF, but he would never been.
Why? What the hell would they have done with Tommy Rich?
Well, just for him to go up there and make a little bit of money, but they wouldn't have probably. He would have had like a Sam Houston push.
Oh, Dave, I love them. I hope he's a mainstay. The regular insight and love for the sport of professional wrestling shines through. Yeah, thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. The numbers haven't been outstanding for the JTG episodes. I wish more fans would give them a shot. I know a lot of our fan base likes the 70s, the 80s, the 90s stories and the legends. But, you know, JTG is very, very knowledgeable. Him and I, even though I'm a couple of years older than him, we became fans right around the same time. So the interviews with him were a lot of fun. You know, beyond the historical aspect of his own career and his experience and his observations, for us just to talk about wrestling the way we saw it when we were kids and grew up through it.
Well, he was also, JTG was part of an interesting era, I think. I
don't know about that.
Well, interesting in the sense that it's kind of the last, think of it, well, how long was he there for? From 04, 05?
On the main roster or
just
with
the company?
God, I think he went to Ohio Valley, and I think
04, 05? Jim Cornette
even before that.
Well, here's what I'm trying to say. He was there.
He went on his own at first. He wasn't under contract like Shad was.
But he was there, and then I know he got released. They got released for a short time, him and Shad, and they
not
got
even a year.
But it was they brought back, and then he was there until, when did he get released? 2011.
He was pretty much with that company from 04 to 14. He had a good 10 years.
So here's what I'm trying to say. Think about that era. It's not your favorite era, I know. And it's not a lot of people's favorite era, but it's the last era before they really went the way of
give divas a chance.
That's what I'm trying to say. It was the last era before they.
What a horrible finish.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Why would the guy just get in the ring and stand there? June McGowan, I was actually thinking of you, kiddo. The reason being, Charlie said I look so terrible, and you usually come in and pay me a compliment, although I am not getting much sleep. I am mentally and physically exhausted as we get ready for our big event Saturday night, November the 13th at Memorial Hall here in Melrose, as we go back to the 90s, celebrating 2 decades of Boston wrestling, and we usher in decade number 3, but happy to see you, kiddo. Do I look that bad? Do I look that tired? God, I tell you. Dave was born in 87. He's a huge fan of Marty, and he loved New Jack. Well, Dave, I'm glad you've enjoyed so many of our talk shows. The Super Chat button is open for business if you want us to bring you more. As I'm ready for it. All the Freebirds are going after Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, I should say. That was sick.
As I was saying, he's part of that last era before it went so safe and so PG. I mean, yeah, they went PG in 07, I think 08 it was. But there was something still kind of raw, no pun intended, about it at that point. And it seemed like before NXT, before all these guys, before the indie guys came in, and before they decided to really start to really write everything out. I mean, it was still written, don't get me wrong, but it seemed like it was a little more streamlined, the process. It wasn't as bureaucratic. There seemed to be something about, it was that last era before WWE really became more or less a brand as opposed to a wrestling company.
Interesting point of view.
I'm not saying I'm right on that, but I feel like there's something, like when Johnny Ace, I'm trying to think of what exact. It was before the Triple H takeover. So it was, you know, in that transition. So he is kind of in that interesting era. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well, I hate to say it, but it's not all that interesting to me.
Well,
but I still think he's a great guest. I wish, and I tell you this, one of the most pleasant people to deal with. I wish every talent could be half as easy to deal with as JTG. What's that?
Anti-Terry Reynolds?
Polar opposite.
Who are do you have like a top 5 or top 3 people that you've dealt with over the wrestling business that were just the easiest, most polite? I know I'm number 1, but other than that,
as far as name talent goes, or just overall?
Well, anything that sticks
overall would be really tough. But what did you say?
Well, anyone that a name talent that you really loved that was just so easy.
Paul Bearer.
JTG.
Al Snow, JTG.
You've mentioned some people you didn't like to me, and I won't mention them. Obviously, Miss Runnels. Road Dogg? I know you liked Road Dogg a lot, but it seemed like
when Road Dogg would show up.
Okay.
We had issues with Road Dogg no showing twice, in 2002 and 2010. But I say this, out of everybody that ever screwed us over, he was the only one that ever had enough character and integrity to apologize once they cleaned themselves up. Ted DiBiase, I liked an awful lot. Dutch Mantel, Dirty Dutch.
Sullivan? How's Sullivan then?
My relationship with him, as far as him, quote unquote, working with us, only extends to Sin City, Las Vegas, our background over there. And he was great friends with Tony Rumble, so there weren't going to be any issues then. I'm trying to think, though, as far as our organization goes.
I know you told me Cam Zagami could be a bit of a handful.
Please.
Now, compare Cam Zagami to a Terry Runnels.
Pretty close as far as being difficult to deal with. Cam, I think, means well as deep down as a human being, and I think she's just a scumbag. Look at that. Scott Steiner thinks he's Randy Savage at WrestleMania 4, changing the tights.
I like it, though. I like the change of tights.
Yeah, all right, well.
I like the singlets. He looks good in them.
Todd, even though Todd Hansen wasn't a name, Warbeard Hansen, when he was with us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Well,
if I only could have had 20 of him.
I'm very happy to say, from all the talent you've told me about on the show, and there is a boatload of them. I mean, there's a Noah's Ark edition of them.
Yeah.
You haven't had any issues, major issues with any of the people on. I know Marty has had his issues here and there, but it seems like for the show, he's been okay. He hasn't been giving you any issues about the show. But the young talent, I think, seems to be a little bit more relaxed. No issues I've heard. I've heard about a couple cancellations, but no one trying to screw you over or be difficult with you.
Bob Orton, I'd put on that list.
Did you like Paul Orndorff working with?
Very much.
Very, yeah.
But he was an intense human being.
Well, I know
he told me he was bipolar, so I guess that explains that.
I know you mentioned you had a rough time with Matt Bourne. You know,
here's the thing. We did, and it ruined some pretty good experiences otherwise. It's like the Sheik. Well, no, not like the Sheik. But with the Sheik, you could either have great experiences or it was a nightmare.
What about, I guess it's a hard thing with Tony, because Tony
was great up until he stole the money last winter and turned into a liar and a thief with his $200 pewter that he got with his stimulus check.
You want to hear a funny story?
What?
It made me think of Tony, by the way. I was in Walmart a couple weeks ago with my mother.
You saw the pewter.
With my mother. And they had a Gateway laptop selling for like $45, I think it was.
Oh, really? Jeez, he could have stocked up.
Yeah. But they had some $200 computers. And there's nothing wrong with a $200 laptop. If you're just a guy or a girl who needs it for a couple basic things, nothing wrong with it. But when you're trying to do, what was he trying to do with it exactly?
He wanted to emulate the type of show we did, and he wanted to do it out of his house.
You could do a Facebook Live with it, but what else are you going to do with it?
He did one show, and it had 30 views total.
Again, if you want something, hey, I need to check my emails, write up a Word document, and do a Facebook Live with it. Perfect. $200 computer is worth it. But
Vicky Guerrero was great. Savio Vega was absolutely fantastic. Other than
I know you
a couple of the from time to time, I really couldn't understand what he was saying.
You put over the,
but I'd have Savio back in a heartbeat.
Demolition. I know you.
I forgot about. Oh my God, I love Demolition. I put Demolition back together again.
I'll be honest, I was very much looking forward to seeing them 11-13, but
well, you're gonna get your wish. You just got to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Warlord was absolutely fantastic.
Oh. This has a potential to be match of the night, I think.
This garbage?
Well, it had a potential. That didn't really live up to it.
We had Lanny at a fan fest, Phil. He was never in the studio with us. Brian Casanova likes when Axe is on. Well, we hope that we have more episodes with Axe in the can. Hopefully we're going to have more. I just, two great guys. I love Demolition.
Would have been great to have gotten Crush in on that and have a 3. Or do you think Crush is more of his own guy? Crush has now been
even the tag teams. I like to interview them individually.
I know you really liked interviewing. Was it Sags?
I think I didn't have the experience that Socko did, but they were both a challenge in their own way. But I think the interviews with Jerry Sags were excellent, excellent. Yeah, Crush passed away, I believe, in the late 2000s, if I remember right.
07-ish, maybe?
Yeah.
You know, I think actually a guy he teamed with, Adam Bomb, would have been a good interview.
You think Adam Bomb would be a good interview?
Brian Clark, I think he's got some good stuff to say.
You know, I hooked Brian Clark up with a rat at the old Hilton in Boston, where Andy the Ass Eater worked.
When was this?
The night I met Paul Bearer in November of '94.
You hooked up at the Adam Bomb.
As a high school, was I a sophomore?
Yeah. How'd you do that? Was it a schoolmate of yours?
No. I guess she met him on a plane flying into town, but only knew that he was Adam Bomb.
Mm-hmm.
She had no idea. And the receptionist did. I don't think Annie was at the desk.
Well, this is 94.
She was busy with other endeavors. But I overheard the conversation, and I knew his name and information. And I went. I wouldn't even call her a rat. She was just a woman that he met on the plane that
I hate
wanted
when
to
you
hook
call
up
these
or
young
whatever.
women rats. They're just young ladies.
No.
How would you feel if you had a daughter and she was in the business walking around amongst the wrestlers and they called her a rat?
What's that now?
How would you feel if you had a young daughter and she was trying to hook up with the guys and they called her a rat? It wouldn't.
That wouldn't be wrong. Well, here are the Russians again.
Well, let me ask you.
I'm gonna guess they don't advance, but
now,
go ahead.
I was going to ask you, an 11-13, maybe they might be of the four-legged variety, but will we see any rats there at Memorial Hall?
You know, the funny thing is Melrose has a rat infestation right now, which I think is hysterical every time I read the papers, that they're worried about the rats. The rats are everywhere. They're in the streets. There's a rat takeover here in Melrose. There were, even when this building gets stormed.
I agree. One time I pulled up, two of them were carrying out Captain Lou Data on their hind legs.
Captain Lou Data would do very well to find a rat for himself. He's still in the Cecil the Lion Club of the Big V.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Captain Lou is only unloaded in his palm. You know, I'm not talking about the palm trees behind us.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He's always willing to lend a hand.
Dan, that's awful. You shouldn't say that in there.
What's sad is Cecil the Lion is pushing 30 and is a model and still has yet to do the deed.
I haven't even met Cecil.
No, I don't. After the knife in the back we got from Cecil, I don't anticipate that.
What happened to Cecil?
I think he's got a touch. Well, his mother said he could be the face of autism. Now, I don't know if he has it or not, but there's potential.
He could be the face?
Huh?
He could be the face of it? He's like a model?
He did, yeah. He went to a modeling agency and he had, you know, they took all kinds of professional photos down here where he looked, you know, very bizarre, but he's a little nuts.
Well, if we find any, hey, if you are a so-called rat, November 13th, please come down to Memorial Hall in Melrose. There'll be
Make us feel like it's pro wrestling again. That's when you know wrestling was dying, when the rats went away.
I would love to hook up one of the young wrestlers with a nice young lady for the night who knows the area. Maybe take them to Kowloon, pay for their meal, and if you don't, they'll pay for their own meal, as they should anyway.
Yes.
As they should anyway. And hey, you know what? If you want to meet them after, they'll be at a hotel in the area that they can let you know about. It's not very far from here, I believe.
No, right across the street from Kowloon.
Yeah, really.
Dave likes the Just Incredible interviews, but he liked New Jack. Well, I'm glad you liked them both. The only camera equipment that was stolen by Glantz was the lighting equipment we took to Wrestle House in Tampa. So I still consider him a thief. I don't know why he's chosen that path. He was a great help to us in many ways, but he's just an odd individual.
How long do you
and
have,
I like Glantz.
How long do you have, I call them Pigpen. How long do you have Glantz around? We call them Pigpen.
He would come and go, come and go, come and go.
So a lot of people are like that.
Lazy Bum, how are you? You're right. Yeah, no one is safe in WWE. 18 releases. Certainly going to help, try and help the stock, which would be nice to go up again, but have a tremendous encounter here with the Great Muta and Masa Saito against two Russians that no one knows.
Oh, God.
That's the third guy to get dropped on his head.
Jeez, that kind of roughed Muta up a little bit. You can kind of tell.
I can't tell you how hungry I am right now.
You know why? Because you don't eat all day. Or you gorge. You know what? I have the same problem sometimes. Sometimes I don't eat during the day, and then when I eat, I gorge.
I had apple slices this morning.
Is that all you ate?
Yeah. So if anyone out there wants to send us something to eat as we entertain you, what's that thing called? Uber Eats or Grubhub?
Oh, Jesus. Sorry.
Look at it. It almost look like a shoot.
I think the Russians didn't know this was a work. The way they worked a little bit. By the way,
I mean, Saito is pretty stiff too.
The gut on Saito, my God. He looks so bloated. But I think that was just how Saito's body was.
I mean, just imagine if they just built up the Steiners against Saito and Muta without all this garbage. on their biggest show of the year. This is their WrestleMania. Look at this guy.
Looks like John Stossel's
Yeah.
cousin.
He's going to send him after David Schultz after it happened on 2020.
That'd be a fantastic interview, David Schultz.
I've tried to get David Schultz. David's kind of a unique individual. He's working on a second book.
It seems like a man I would not want to cross in a dark alley, even at his age right now.
I liked him an awful lot.
Would he be someone that would be great for maybe back to the 80s in April?
He's not doing anything anymore.
Not anymore.
Another one that claims he's retiring, but you know how that goes.
Hey, it's my boys.
It's Ron Simmons. Ron, my old friend, I got to give you a fuck you for being an asshole and not being a man of character and integrity for November 13th.
Folks, we're going to be doing about the next 14, 15 shows will all have Ron Simmons in them, and every time Ron's on camera, Dan's going to give out a big fuck you to Ron Simmons.
Teddy Long I like an awful lot. He's a fun guy.
What about Butch Reed? Any thoughts on Butch?
Never met him. No, did I?
He died, was it this year or last year?
I think last year. I would have liked to have seen him when he was supposedly one of the top 5 in the business in the early 80s. Because the Butch Reed I saw was...
I think you got to go find Mid-South Wrestling for that. And maybe even his stint in Florida.
I think it was, now that you mention it, I think it was the Florida Butch Reed that was the guy.
But, I mean...
He didn't have much left at this point.
Yeah, even physically, but Simmons was like... Simmons was about 5 years younger, but I think Butch had a lot more mileage on him.
Yeah.
Than what Ron had.
I think he was a big bump taker for kind of a big guy.
I love that T-shirt. That Doom. I would wear that.
Yeah, me too.
You would too? I would really wear that. I'd wear that to 11/13 if I could find it.
No, you're a professional.
Can I cut the shirt in half and have like a half shirt?
Look at that. It looks like one of Tony's drawings.
Ooh. That's cool. I mean, it's a little cheesy.
Campy,
cool.
yeah.
But it's different.
Where's Rastani?
He's missing Luger.
I thought we were going to get a Quincy run in.
Is he okay? He seems kind of down tonight.
Quincy?
Yeah.
Does
he have moods?
He had some kind of a problem with his glasses that he was complaining about when he got here. He had to go to Lens Crafters, and anytime he opens his wallet, you should see the moths fly out. Speaking of which, remind me that he's got to give me money before we leave.
Are you taking money from Quincy?
Well, he owes me money, and then he'll forget, and then we get into an argument saying, no, he doesn't the next Thursday, and I don't want to go that route. But
Oh, is this him and Hanson for the rematch of Halloween Havoc 90?
Yes. So that's why it was kind of a good tie-in where we just did the watch-along for that the other night. Matter of fact, let me check this out.
How much money does he owe you, or you want to keep that number disclosed?
It's just not a heck of a lot, but I don't like to. He likes to hustle.
Well, he seems like a bit of a hustler.
He's a hustler. Yeah, he doesn't owe me too much. I asked him to get me the Red Bulls that I like to have in the morning, and instead of getting the multi-pack at a discount, he got 10 individual cans, which really added up in a hurry, as you could probably imagine. But Quins is an interesting guy, but we love him. Here's the bad man from Borga, Texas, Stan the Lariat Hansen. Don't call him God. The first wrestler to perfect the clothesline maneuver he calls the Lariat.
What is
I'd love to know who typed up those graphics. But
there was a time, I think, in Ring of Honor was doing it. Every time there was a big clothesline, they'd call it a lariat. And I'm like, it doesn't really work. I think a clothesline is a clothesline, but what's the difference between a clothesline and a lariat?
John Layfield threw the Lariat.
To me, a lariat is an aggressive clothesline.
It's got to be almost a finish.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that. Look, just a badass looking man.
Lex Luger was? Hell yeah.
No, I'm talking about Stan Hansen. He's got the tobacco going down his chest.
He looks like a slob.
Well, made him a lot of money.
I mean, but I'll say this. He didn't look as good as Luger, but he looked tough enough to where he could kick Luger's ass, and I think people could believe that. I think there's always room in wrestling for a guy like this. Would I want everyone to look like that? Absolutely not.
One.
But but one, maybe two. You want one or two guys to look like that. You know, just like you'd want maybe how many Lugers would you want? One or two?
I could go with a couple Lugers.
Yeah.
So it really all depends on how much talent they have. I mean, you know, even though Pillman is probably 6-7 inches shorter than Luger, I'd take Pillman any day.
Yeah. Who drew more money? Luger?
I don't know where Luger really ever was a draw.
Well, what about Pillman?
Who?
Pillman. Did Pillman draw any money? Oh, I guess when
Not
you're in the
really.
mid-card. I mean, I guess it's hard for guys to draw money now because it's so.
The most money Pillman ever drew was for himself when he conned WCW into getting a release and signing that big contract with WWF that he unfortunately didn't live through. But he was very, very, I mean, unbelievably smart man to be able to do that.
He even got that contract after his car accident with the Hummer. You know,
that's how hot the competition was at that time for talent. Which
was really his. That was probably his downfall. That was probably the you know.
That was the end. I mean, there wasn't much left in the, and I think he knew it. There wasn't much left in the gas tank, and especially when he couldn't bend his ankles. I mean, the pain the poor guy must have been in. I understand that with my CRPS condition.
Well, you know, and I think what was a year and a half after the accident, he died.
Yeah.
So it was what, 96? But the thing is, I watched that Dark Side of the Ring on him, and he was, I think it talked about something that a lot of people don't get. This is a professional sport in a way. I mean, yes, it's pro wrestling. It's not exactly a legit sport, but these guys don't have a long shelf life. Guys a lot of times only have maybe, especially the style they work, and the smaller guys, they might only have 7-8 years that they can do this. 10 years maybe.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
To 10 years, some of these guys?
From beginning to end?
I guess it depends on the matches, how many matches they've gotten, what they do with it. I mean,
look at Luger. He went, my God.
15 full time?
Well, he was done full time when WCW ended. He had a good 16, 17 years.
Well, what about guys today, you think?
I think the shelf life is longer on them, just based upon the working conditions, the travel.
They don't wrestle every day necessarily.
Yeah. You're talking about Max, if you worked every event. Oh Jesus. You know, what's the max that someone in WWE is going to work? 130 times a year? If they work on every show?
Well, pandemic has kind of changed things. Before pandemic, they were doing what, 3 times a week?
No, 4.
4?
3 house shows and a TV.
So
on non-pay-per-view weekends.
So now they're doing, well, AEW was only doing a TV. Now they're starting to go to what? Now they have 2 TVs. Or is only one of them?
It depends on the week. Their schedule is a little odd. Like I said, I think there's too much AEW.
Well, I can't even. Yeah, I don't even. I know.
Even though they have a large roster, I don't understand the purpose of those. I know they want to start a streaming service, but I just think those internet shows are absurd having that many matches.
Yeah. And those, I mean, God, I'll just say this: good for them for giving some of the talent out there work and some paydays. But when you got so much talent and you're trying to stuff it all on shows, no one really sticks out.
When it comes to a lot of the talent that they're using on those shows, they're guys that belong working independents and working several times a week. They're not major league ready. I mean, there's guys on Dynamite and Rampage that I'd still say should be trying to work a WWF schedule where they work 3 or 4 times a week. Yeah. That's how you learn. That's how you get experience.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's one of the worst things about the territories dying. Guys don't get experience working 5, 6, 7 times a week because that's how you get good. You know, you take a guy who works 6 times a week for 6 months as opposed to the guy who works twice a week for 6 months. That guy who works 6 times a week is a lot better. He's going to be more natural. He's going to be able to handle the crowd better. He can tell a story more effectively.
I think that's actually a little much. I think I like and Jim Ross was the one that came up with that WWF schedule that they use now. I think that's very good.
3 to 4?
Yeah, 4 shots a week.
Maybe I'm a little
3 days off. And you know my thought, I told you, I would give, outside of that Royal Rumble to WrestleMania quarter, I would do rotating 3-month periods off for guys to let them recuperate, freshen up, give them some lifetime. But they don't have the patience and the pacing. It would take long-term booking to pull that off. But I think if everybody worked 9 months a year at that, 4 shots a week, I think that would be great. One man's opinion.
Did you mention the pacing and the patience of it? Did you think that, because I always felt WWF, if you look back, up until the Attitude Era, they really did understand the idea of patience and building things. It seems like once the pay-per-views came every month and they added more TVs, and then the Raw became 3 hours and they added SmackDown, that patience went out the window. They had to fill all that content up. So they were pushing and pushing and pushing the storyline.
I think the pacing and patience died with Russo.
He was the guy who started.
They never, even though he may have left, they never changed the pace they went with once he was gone, which was just constant.
Yeah.
Every, guys on the shows multiple times a night, title changes, garbage angles, stipulations that were never followed through that always turned fans off.
I think Russo, he had some good ideas. I think he was a character guy. He understood a character, but to be the full booker or the full, basically to command the whole ship, I don't think he was the guy that should have been given those
Russo
spots.
was
Smart guy.
Great with coming up with an idea. He had no idea what to do with the idea. I think, honestly, and I've said it before, I think he would be beneficial to WWE to have him come back as someone to create a concept and then go away.
Yeah.
Because he's not a beginning, middle, and end type of guy. He's a great beginning guy.
Yeah.
But after that, it's just lost.
Right.
It's like a newspaper headline without the article.
And with the Attitude Era, it's like people don't, I mean, let's look at the mid-card angles in the Attitude Era. There was a lot of weird, forgettable crap in that era. What is this?
Another thing I'll give him credit for is he was very good at trying to come up with something for everybody.
No, that was a good thing.
Everybody involved. But again, great beginning, but the middle and the end.
You know what's funny? People talk about him and Cornette and how different they are, but both of them have similar ideas of what's wrong with wrestling today.
I think most people with a brain understand what's wrong with wrestling
today. And they
today.
both said something that I once thought of, and I never thought of it until they said it. And they both agreed on this. If you have a show that's supposed to go off at 9 o'clock and it's 8:58 and nothing's going on, you got to do something that last 2 minutes. You got to end the show on some sort of, someone hits the ring, someone hits someone with something, someone stands tall. You got to hit them with something that when they go to black in 15 seconds, the people are like, holy shit, what's going on? You got to leave them with something.
But I think if you do that every week, people come to expect it. And then it loses its impact.
To be fair, yes, but you got to do it. You can't just, something can't just end at 8:55, then it's 9 o'clock. And then for the next 5 minutes, everyone's just standing around with their feet in hand. You got to.
Well, I used to like how I used to get angry about it, but looking back on it, I thought it not a bad idea how some of the NWA shows, they hype up a huge grudge match, and then they'd show about 90 seconds of the match and say, we got to go. We're going off the air. Almost like tease a movie trailer for a house show event. I liked how they did that. Looking back on it as a fan, I'd say I want to see the match.
Yeah.
What the, WTF.
You want to see more, not we've seen so much, please leave.
Let's catch up on the comments. But we need more Quincy. The lariat is a lasso. Vincent one in dozens. I think longevity of a pro wrestler is determined by how they treat their personal life with drugs and alcohol. Well, it's a very different day and age, Lazy Bum, but you're not wrong. Dave said Russo has a creative mind. Lazy Bum. Vince Russo made David Arquette world champion. I think that says it all. Well, that certainly wasn't one of his finest moments, and I think there's the difference. When Vince Russo was working with Vince McMahon, I think you had Vince McMahon 20 plus years ago was in a different frame of mind, maybe, and was a good filter to take some of Russo's concepts and maybe tame them. When Russo was left with no one in charge of him in WCW, it was hideous. Some of the stuff that Russo came up with in TNA was absolutely atrocious.
Oh, wow. Stan, I thought Stan was going to drop the belt to Luger.
Yeah, this was a good way for Lex to do a job and extend the program. And a pretty good match.
Did he beat, but I'm pretty sure he beat Hansen for the belt again. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, wait a minute. Pee Wee Anderson.
No, what now? Didn't Stan hit him with the boot?
Little dusty finish. Well, no, not quite the dusty finish. I'm wrong on that, but
I thought I was
little
like, I'm pretty
swerve.
Sure, but I'm trying to think of what he got disqualified for. Was it just him?
We have to wait for the replay.
Oh, wait a minute. Stan with that sock.
No, I don't think Stan wanted to do too many jobs in WCW with the money he was making in
he was
all
just,
Japan at
just
the time.
And I wonder if Stan liked working this or working with like Kawada or Sawa more.
Sure, this was a lot easier on the body.
Yeah, probably was. Yeah, Luger had something on his stomach. I don't know what he had. Look at his chest. Are those welts?
That pimple in the middle of his stomach? Yeah, I noticed that too.
Gotta love the Lex Express.
You were a Lex guy, huh?
I think Luger's a bit underrated. All right, well. I know what you're thinking. Well, Charlie, with your encyclopedic knowledge of wrestling and understanding of the business, how would you say such a crazy thing? I think during this era he was pretty decent. I really do. And I can't wait to show up to 11/13 in my Lex Express t-shirt and fringes.
Gary Michael Capetta is almost orgasmic at this point. More than he was at the studio. On Anderson. A good angle. I don't think we mentioned it earlier in the show when Ric Flair was getting out of the limousine to try and explain why he wasn't involved in the tag team match as advertised.
5'10" combined. That a little light for those two?
Yeah. I don't know who came up with this, but they didn't do a very good job.
Anderson from Minneapolis, the one guy from Minneapolis with a Georgian accent.
I don't know if he really is from Minnesota.
No, he's from Georgia. Because
the rest of the Andersons were Minnesota guys. I got you.
Well, Flair was from Minnesota, originally born in Memphis, but
his name is Fred.
Was raised in Minnesota his whole life at the University of Minnesota. I think the Andersons, Ole and Gene.
Was Ron Simmons. Did he fuck them too? Oh, there he is. No, I liked Doom. I thought they were a great team.
And I know you definitely liked Ron Simmons.
I did like Ron. I just don't like that Ron couldn't be a man of his word and live up to his agreement that he made. Disappointing our fans and disrespecting Paul Bearer, but it is what it is the WCW Tag Team titles are on the line. The Horsemen and Doom.
Now, was this at the end of Barry Windham's prime?
Yeah.
I would say so. By 91, he was kind of knackered. Maybe 92, 93. I don't know. I always think of his prime. He was at one point one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, before he had the problems that popped up in his life, I think he would have been great to have been groomed as Widowmaker to work with Warrior for the title. if he didn't leave.
Yeah, but I think honestly though he would have, because here's the thing, he kind of peaked early because he's about 30 here, but he just kind of, you know, who's that on the? That's not Teddy Long, is it?
No, Paul Heyman wants to know too.
I'd say by the time, I'd say Wyndham's peak was about 85 to 92 or so. It seemed like by the time he hit 31, 32, he was a little out of it. Kind of peaked early in his career.
He was actually Annie's first ass.
Do you think he'd remember that?
Barry had his times, from what I'm told. I don't know if he'd remember.
Barry
A little color early on. We like that here in Boston Wrestling MWF.
Will there be any blood, you think, on 11/13?
You never know how wild and violent it could get.
Do you like the blood?
I
Are you a
love
fan
the
of
blood.
Do you like to have the blood with other things? Maybe some personal. Are you into the personal life?
Like Dracula?
Well, you know, do you like to get some color in the bedroom? Some people are into that sort of thing.
No.
Okay.
That's a Terry Reynolds thing.
What?
Yeah, she likes to bleed.
From the head?
Yeah.
She likes to.
New Jack gigged her. You've never seen the pictures of her online, covered in blood?
They were having sex and he gigged her?
Yeah.
Does she have any gig marks?
She has so much makeup covering that ugly wart-filled face. I have no idea, but
I hope you tell us how you really feel about her one day, but we might have to wait till the book or an interview, like you said.
When Dr. Death Steve Williams was signed by WWF, do you think he would have got a main event push if Backlund hadn't injured and KO'd him? I think there was a very good chance he would have worked with Austin, or they would have tried to test a program with Austin and Steve Williams.
Here's my question about that. Would he have sold for Austin? Because it seemed like Dr. Death did not like to sell for anyone.
If he was smart and wanted a job in the main event spot, he would have to learn how to sell.
Because I'm sure Vince, or Jim Ross rather, would have gone to him and said, listen, you've got a main event run here. You've got to sell for this. Because he just didn't like to sell, it seemed like.
Could you compare Y2J and Mr. Hughes and Y2K to AJ Styles and Omos? You know what? Neither one of them Jericho and Hughes weren't together that long, and Omos and AJ haven't been together that long. And to be honest, I have zero interest in either one of them. I don't think it really enhanced Jericho to have Hughes.
Yeah.
I don't think it enhances AJ to have Omos.
I think
Omos is just there.
He's going to be released within the next year, I think.
Other than size, there is nothing. He's not much of a physical presence. He looks like he wrestles in street clothes half the time. He's not that thick. He's not good. He's not very flexible. Yeah, you're right. It would have been Steve Williams and Steve Williams.
Yeah.
Let's get back to Starrcade 90. Barry liked to get the color.
Yeah, I think I don't know if that was just an old school thing with Barry. Oh, Arn's got juice. Does Ron have any? And now who are the baby faces in this? The Horsemen? Neither are baby faces? So you have heel on heel?
Yeah.
So who's the crowd kind of going for? I think they're going for Doom.
Well, it's a street fight.
I think they want Doom in this though, because I think Doom is the badass team, so they're going to go for the badasses. I think
St. Louis, I think that would be a Horseman city.
No, I don't know. I think when you have two teams that are heels, they cheer for whoever they think's the more badass of the two. But I'd agree with you normally. Simmons had a little color. I don't know if Reed
listen to them right now. They're popping for Barry Windham. Shades of the Cowboy Bob Orton. The innovator of the Superplex.
Did you think this was Teddy Long's best managing with Doom? Like, I mean, who else did he manage? He managed Skyscrapers.
Yeah.
Callis. Undertaker. Was it Scorpio and Bagwell?
Yeah.
Bit of an underrated
baby face.
I like that team, Scorpio and Bagwell. Too cold.
You're a big Bagwell guy.
I like Bagwell. Yeah. I like Bagwell. He seems like a cool guy.
Yeah, number 8.
Bagwell, maybe in his prime.
I thought he was actually pretty good, believe it or not, with Mark Henry and Rodney Mack in WWE in 2003, I think.
Okay.
And that said to me, why was this guy refereeing for 4 years?
Because what did you ref from? Like 97, 01?
I think he came in 98.
So what was he doing? So what did he leave WCW and what did he do in the interim between WCW and WWF?
There wasn't that big of a gap.
Do you believe the comments he said about guys like Flair saying the N-word?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you think so?
Unfortunately.
Flair, I don't know if Flair would do that today, but it seemed like back in the day. I mean, Flair would cut promos on black wrestlers, calling them boy and things like that.
Well, look at the build-up to WrestleMania 19 with Triple H and Booker T. I'm surprised. I don't know if it's been edited off of Peacock, but I imagine it's something that would be.
Booker T was never the same. It killed Booker T. They didn't, I think we talked
He was the sacrificial lamb for Goldberg. Booker T was going to go over until The Rock intervened and pushed them to bring in Goldberg.
Now, did Rock
and Triple H didn't want to do that many jobs.
So do you think Rock said don't job to Booker T, or I think Rock just said, hey, let's bring in Goldberg and Triple H?
No, I don't think Rock cared one way or the other about that, but Triple H, at that point in his career, didn't want to do that many jobs. He didn't want a job to Booker T at WrestleMania to get the title back from Booker to do the job to Goldberg.
Right. Everyone talks about that reign of terror he had, which, you know what, my thought process on that was he saw the writing on the wall for Austin.
Who?
And Triple H, and he saw that Rock probably had Hollywood aspirations, and he said, well, shit, I could be the top guy here, because Taker's more or less an attraction, and I'm the guy, and, I got Shawn coming back, but Shawn's my buddy.
Well, he wanted desperately that top heel spot. When there was some hesitation in 99 to go with them, because there was a lot of heat that they changed the SummerSlam main event because he wanted to beat Austin for the title for the first time.
Right.
And they put Mankind in that triple threat.
To help,
And then so they could have a baby face with Jesse Ventura raise the hand at the end of SummerSlam. And then I think Triple H won the title the next night on Raw for the first time. And then he lost it to Vince and some schmaz on SmackDown the next month. But they weren't 100% sure if they were going to go with him. Believe it or not, do you want to know what the backup plan was in 2000 if Triple H didn't get over, who the number one heel was going to be?
Davey Boy Smith? That was 99, I think, I'm curious, actually.
Boss Man. Can you imagine? They were going to build around him as the top heel in 2000 if Triple H failed? God.
So we would have had Boss Man Rock as the main feud.
Yeah.
And I like Boss Man, but I can't see him being a number one heel. He could be your number 5 heel.
He was excellent in his role that they had him in. As far as being a guy that was going to main event, at that point, no. I'll say this, he was in the main event of the highest attended show in Boston TD Garden / Fleet Center history. Because it was a house show and it sold out. They didn't have a big set or anything. It was a 4-way with, I think, Austin, Rock, Boss Man, and
they had
Foley, I think.
I look back, I mentioned Davey Boy. They had him doing a couple main events in 99 when they brought him back in the jeans. And
he was in line to get a big push. He just couldn't work.
Well,
he was destroyed by that injury he had in WCW at Fall Brawl 98 when he fell on the trap door that was set up for Ultimate Warrior.
I have a theory, maybe you could correct me. I think Rick Rude would have had that spot if he had lived, because they were thinking about bringing him back, right? He was coming back.
He wanted to come back.
Yeah. I think they would have done.
And I don't know which promotion he preferred, but
WWF,
he wanted, I don't know, would WWF have taken him after he bolted on them twice? Would they have trusted him to put him in a big spot? I don't know.
So. I think he would have done it. I know him and Austin were pretty good buddies, and I think to work with Austin, he would have done it.
But I'm talking about Vince after Rude bolted on them twice.
I think
Would
if he
here
felt
we go
Rude
with
could bring
this.
them eyeballs, I think he'd go for it. But
He certainly would have been of more value to WWF than WCW.
yeah.
WCW was so top heavy with the
Yeah.
names, even if the names couldn't go anymore.
But we don't know if he could have worked because there are reports he was bulking up so big and he was getting bigger and bigger. There's a point where I think in WCW, one of the last times you see him on camera is like February. He looked like shit. He didn't have the mustache, didn't have any facial hair. He looked really chubby and really slow. He looked really thick. He looked awful. So I think if he could come back in good shape, he could have worked a program with Rock or Austin as a heel. I think there's so much money left on the table for him, but it didn't work out.
If he could have got healthy and he was...
Hell, I think Barry Windham, if Barry Windham had stayed healthy, he could have had a run in WWF in the late 90s. Not what he did with Bradshaw, but I'm talking a bigger run.
Well, that run he had was atrocious when he came back as the Stalker.
No, but he wasn't in shape. He looked old as hell. If I'm talking,
yeah, you wouldn't have guessed it. His age was his age. But you know what? I was told, I don't remember who the hell it was.
Another gimmick, another change for Stalker.
He just wanted to come in for short stints, make some money, go buy a new car, and go home.
Yeah, hey. That's what I heard about Barry. He wasn't really set on being the biggest star. He wanted just to make some money, have some fun. He wanted to be comfortable.
I remember when Tony Rumble used him. I couldn't believe it.
What year was that?
98.
He was in WCW at that point, wasn't he? Or no.
No, he was part of the WWF NWA.
So what was going on with that part? Was he
well,
okay?
we had Cornette coming in a lot, so he was able to broker certain deals.
You weren't a Barry fan?
Yeah, Tony knew. I don't know why he would even bother, but they put the title on Wyndham, and then as soon as it was over, they did a gimmick where they did a rematch on the spot, and I think it was Eric Sprague rolled him up and pinned him, just so we had video footage of him losing. And I think once he eventually went to WCW, that's how they explained him losing. So the fans in Everett saw that. The fans that weren't in Everett saw, quote unquote, another event, and they saw a highlight of him getting pinned to lose the title, which was smart to do. I just would have never put it on him to begin with. I don't think anyone cared about Barry Windham up here in 1998. He was looked at as more of a WCW guy.
Yeah. But then again, I don't even know if anyone cared about Barry Windham in 1998 anyway. No offense to Barry Windham.
No, I
don't think anyone cared about Barry Windham since like 93. And that might be generous.
I really didn't like when Tony Rumble joined the NWA. But one man's opinion. Tony wanted to do it. It was his company. He was entitled to do whatever he wanted to do. I would have liked to have seen Scott Steiner and Muta in a single. Never mind this tag team match. Ooh, ooh, ooh. The dog-faced gremlin and Great Muta ready to go at it. Boot to the midsection. Those kicks.
This
Beautiful
actually looks
kicks.
I can actually say this actually has the potential to be a great match. Will it be a great match? Well,
you got Red Shoes as the referee in there.
Oh, the Japanese ref from New Japan, right?
Saito's reminiscing about his time in the can with Patera. What's that?
Do you think Captain Lou would have liked Muta?
Maybe Lou dressed up as Muta in the past for Halloween, for all we know.
I don't think Captain Lou likes wrestling much.
Well, you're going to get to meet Din Fan on November the 13th.
Oh
God! Room 211 at the MGM in Vegas.
Well, I have a gimmick idea
for Din Fan.
Well, I don't know how. I guess maybe not Din Fan, but for
Lou.
For Lou.
What's that?
Well, Lou, John C., Jackie the Joke Man, and Howard, led by myself, could be known as the Soy Boys. And we'll do
keep you out of the booking meetings.
Yeah. I have all kinds of booking ideas. I have two black guys as a tag team with Confederate flags called the Southern Supermen. That gets heat. Femboy Rick Rude is another one of my ideas.
Femboy. Now, why Femboy Rick Rude?
So it's kind of like a Rick Rude, but instead of him going to women, he's being a very feminine man who wants men.
So instead of kissing women before the match, he'd kiss another guy?
And he basically insults the women, saying you don't know how to please a real man.
Yeah, that sounds like something Cam could pull off.
Probably could.
Maybe he has. Probably has.
You know, I watched a little bit of an interview that he had. I had a little bit of an interview. You had him in the studio a couple weeks ago,
Yes.
right? And he had an interview and he talked about how Batista, he loved Batista. And he said when he saw Batista, he said, that's what I want to do. And I thought to myself, isn't
that odd?
Well, I said to myself, you think that's the moment he knew he liked men?
He probably pleased himself to Big Dave. But that's his business.
You think it was the peck bounce that got him? Batista was he was a good-looking guy, very muscular. I could understand why. Now was it Deacon Batista? I'm assuming Evolution Batista.
I'm going to guess Evolution. Yeah, the way he's described it, I don't think he was a fan during that period.
Yeah, he
of time.
might. We're talking about a world heavyweight champ Batista. Oh, mid-2000s Batista.
Who's your favorite ref? I like Tommy Young. Tommy Young was a great, believable referee. What he did very effectively, very intense. I always liked Earl Hebner. Dave gave me a woo. I don't know why. Woo! Are you guys having fun watching Starrcade? I got to send a text to make sure Rastani doesn't get out of here without coughing up the cash. You know what I mean? He's a hustler. Now, who are you texting over there?
Oh, my friend.
Harvey?
No, not Harvey. I haven't talked to Harvey in years.
Harvey. Many of Harvey's friends believe he's number one.
In our hearts or in our minds?
Maybe both. Well, fans, don't forget, 10 p.m. tonight, Marty Jannetty is going to be back with Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty as we wrap up the year that was. WWF 1990, we talked the Nasty Boys' debut, Honky Tonk Man's departure, Bobby the Brain Heenan arrested, and much more. It's a fun episode with Marty, even though I could kill him after I saw footage I never saw when I was sitting there without my glasses on, distracted during a commercial break, but that's a different story for a different time. Marty and I will be discussing that.
Now he must be pleased as punch because the Braves are now World Series champs.
Oh, he was thrilled. Him and I actually spoke after they won.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I had Astros in 6, ended up being Atlanta in 6. Are you a little surprised that the Braves won, especially without Acuna Jr.?
No, because I tell you, you'd have to ask Just Joe and Cool Papa Bell. But I don't know how it came up. We were at Brett's Fenway. Who do you think? Who do you think? I said the Braves. They wouldn't even have been a playoff team at that point as we run into a little disruption.
Also, I just have to say this. I even had to say it. They beat the Dodgers, who were the favorites to win the whole thing. So at that point, you kind of had to think they have a shot.
And in the playoffs, it's all about, can you get in? Anything can happen at that point. Anything can happen. And it was a good series. I'm sad baseball is over, but I am a big fan of the hot stove season, as they call it.
Really?
I compare baseball to good wrestling booking.
Well,
I love the strategy in baseball. I think the same kind of strategy should be applied in wrestling.
Can you explain it a little bit?
As far as pacing, different strategy on maneuvers during the game. How does that exactly translate to baseball to wrestling? It would probably take longer than this show to explain, but I just think strategically, if smart bookers had a pen and pencil and were writing for the company, I look at it from a baseball strategy point of view. How do you utilize all 26 guys on the roster? How can you maneuver them to be more valuable during a game or during a series? What do you do if there's injuries?
Well, here's a good point. Let's say you have a guy who's a utility player. Sometimes a utility player gets sat on the bench and says, hey, we need something, go here, go there. It's the same thing with wrestling. You've got a guy who can fill so many different hats. He never gets really the big push because, well, we need something here, we need something there, we just let him in. When you have a guy who only can do one or two things, he gets used in those one or two positions.
Yeah.
And he gets pushed in one of those two positions. So there's something similar in that way right there. But I do think a good manager brings it all together. You know, you don't have a good manager, you can have the best team in the world, no one cares.
Well, that's it. A good manager would be, I guess, the equivalent to a good booker.
I mean, are there any good bookers left? Some people would say Tony Khan, but I wouldn't call him a booker, really. He's more of a fan with some money.
No, I mean, he's the AEW product over the past 4, 5, 6 months is so much improved over what it was, in my opinion.
Is it actually good, or do you think it's just better than what it was?
To me, it's more watchable than WWE shows, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
Was it good at all? Does it stand on its own as a good show? In the state of
Depends on the week.
Do you find a difference between Rampage and Dynamite? I haven't watched in so long, so I'm curious.
Rampage is kind of cool because it's almost like it's over before it begins.
It's an hour,
It's only
right?
an hour show. Yeah. I miss that in pro wrestling.
Kind of makes you want to see more a little bit.
Yes.
Yes. As opposed to
but
Dynamite.
If you're a hardcore AEW fan, you have Dynamite, you have Dark, and you have Dark Elevation.
We know there's only there's quite a few dozen of those people.
I'm gonna catch you. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, John Cena Sr. shooting.
What's he shooting on?
What's going on with all these releases?
Brother, you want to get on some of these? I mean, you probably, honestly, with your relationship to the big boys in Titan Tower, you might be able to get a couple of these names for November the 13th. But it's so, I wouldn't even do it. You have literally 1 week.
That's what I mean.
It's just you have too many wrenches in this thing already.
We got a lot of talent November the 13th.
I would say this, if someone were to call out in the next few days, why not?
I would have loved to have, I hate to say it, we could have probably done something very interesting if Ring of Honor went about what they did a month or two earlier.
Okay.
As far as these talents go.
Oh my gosh, you mentioned something just amazing. Ring of Honor released all their talent. WWE released 18 guys and girls. Think about how much talent is out there. It sucks for them that don't have any work, but think about all the talent that's out there.
That was a good match.
I thought it was good too. Think about all
there
the
was
talent.
a reason I picked up my phone. Keep going.
Think about all the talent that's out there that's looking for some sort of work. And I think AEW would pick up quite a bit of it, you know, because AEW seems like the place where someone's friend works there. They say, give this person a try. You know, we recommend this person. You know, it seems like a lot of like the all boys and girls club kind of thing, you know. I like that finish.
Yeah,
the sleeper.
That was a really good. And it's a shame you had to go through again. Like I said earlier, so many garbage matches.
If we were booking
that no one was interested in to get to this.
If there was a tag match 11-13, I'd want that as a finish. And they won.
Tony Schiavone almost in the same role now as he is on AEW. Doing the interviews right after the matches. All those flags, all those rats. Look at the hair, that style, and that blonde. My dear Lord, talk about big hair.
Yeah.
Let's hear it for the O'Connors that they didn't even put on camera.
Look at Steiner's mullet. It's like a buzz cut that went into a mullet.
It's old Jimmy Herd.
You know, he looks a little bit like John Cena Sr. He looks like him and John Cena shop at the same place. How would a conversation between those two go?
I don't know the man well enough to mock it, I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay.
Sure, there'd be a Hey Brother, the true HBK, the Hey Brother kid. He actually, when he went to Halloween Horror Nights, he ran into a WWE, I guess what you'd call a legend at the park.
Who?
Well, I don't want to ruin tomorrow night's episode for everybody. It's available right now at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling.
Can you give me a hint?
They were still affiliated with the company. Johnny tried to kayfabe it, I guess, and but the tour guide, because Johnny is a big shot, he goes for the rest in peace package, not to be confused with his piece.
Which has been resting a long time, I'm sure.
What's that?
It's probably been resting a long time.
Well, no, they get a little tour guide and they go house to house and ride to ride, and so it's an expensive experience. I know. For me and the two kids, the first night we went, I got the express pass just to try and navigate, because Johnny told me how busy it is. About $900
For the three of you. 300 a person? Jeez, that's a lot.
and Johnny's package was more expensive.
Not his actual package. That's
I don't know about that, but for him and his femme fatale, they got the rest in peace package.
Well, who do you think? Let me ask you. This person that he saw, did they have a good conversation?
No, I think they were just both trying to stay under the radar and enjoy themselves. But the tour guide noticed the legend. So he started yelling into a microphone, "Hey, there's ba 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 ba."
Oh.
You know, he just wanted to go and have fun. Johnny said he was actually recognized during the day at the amusement parks and was taking selfies
How many
with
people?
fans. Huh?
By how many people?
A few. He described several encounters.
Do they remember him from getting punted in the head by Randy Orton?
Probably. Let me check in on here. Dick Worley was the best WWF ref. Yeah, Dick Worley was really good. Dan, where the hell is Marty at? Marty will be with us at 10 o'clock tonight, Lazy Bum. He's down in getting ready to move again.
Is he? Where is he moving now?
Florida. Well, he's in Florida, but he's moving a little further south.
He's moving to Cuba eventually.
I don't think he's going to go that far south.
No, he's coming in at 11:13. Is he coming the night before?
Who?
Marty.
No.
So he's just coming in November 13th and heading out.
Correct. He has something in New York the next day. And there is Dick the Bruiser. Unique referee outfit, at the very least.
Looks like Tugboat's
Yeah.
dad, right? What the hell is he wearing?
Well, even Paul Heyman noticed, but
I wonder what would have happened to Paul Heyman if he had stayed in WCW.
Well, we wouldn't have probably seen the ECW that we saw, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if Eddie Gilbert, when he was alive, could have taken it to the level Heyman did. But it would have been interesting to see had he lived.
Now, who was the Black Scorpion here? This wasn't Al Perez, right?
No.
So who was
It was just like I mentioned the other night when Hogan and what turned into Beefcake. They had so many different guys do it at TV tapings and house shows and so on.
Right.
And it was the same thing here. Just a horrible storyline. They really, it was almost like a Russo storyline where they kind of came up with an interesting idea on paper and then they had no idea how to pull it off. I mean, that looks like Johnny Walker right there.
So hold on. All these guys were Black Scorpions?
Yeah.
No, the idea of the Black Scorpion was it was going to be Sting if Sting was a villain, pretty much, right? Holy shit, who is this guy? Was this Undertaker?
No, he was in WWF.
Oh no, you're right, 90. Yeah, he just got there.
Just a little JR, a little bizarre.
I wonder if Jim Ross had to call more bullshit here or in AEW?
This whole
WWE had a lot of bullshit too. We had to call it. So you had to go out a lot of bullshit last 30 years.
well, spaceship action going on. Whatever, I don't know exactly what that's supposed to be, but
Now this must be the main event, I'm assuming.
yes, you'd be correct. The World Championship in a cage was the main event.
No, it should be.
Nowadays, yeah, you never could be the opening match.
The women's match.
Oh. Isn't it nice not to have to sit through that on some of these shows? One thing I like about watching the old shows, it's almost like you get to forget about wrestling in 2021. That's what I like our events to be, because for better or worse, whether fans like it or they don't like it, there's no women's matches at the Boston Wrestling MWF events.
Why is that?
Because I don't think fans want to see it. I think there's more fans that have left and don't watch anymore because they've had enough of the bullshit.
You want to hear a controversial opinion from me?
Sure.
I agree with you, but I want to see this. If we're gonna have women's wrestling, I want to see a death match. I want to see I want to see juice. I want to see color. I want to see women bleeding, not in the Terry Reynolds way, but I want to see like women actually getting some sort of. If you're gonna make it like men's matches, have it be a little violent.
It's just not anything I'm interested in producing. The powers that be on the board of directors, they've kind of made I don't know if it's a handshake type deal, but John Cena Sr. will be able to present his fabulous women of wrestling on their own platform. So, you know what? I wish them luck. I hope it does well.
Approach you about being on the show?
What's that now?
Have you had women approach you about being on this 11-13 show?
No.
I mean,
it's not like we haven't had women with us in the past. We have a woman with us November 13th with Alundra Blayze, Madusa. But
wrestling wise, was this player right here?
Yeah. What was I going to say now? I'm trying to read these facts about the Black Scorpion. This was
just, well, I wonder who this was. Who was the Black Scorpion?
Well, I'll tell you this. The angle they did with Flair at the beginning of the show almost gave it away. They should have had, I would have had him wrestle twice if I was booking.
Well, nice picture of Sting there. Another Tony Atlas original. I love Sting with the colors.
Yeah, I like it a lot better than the Crow. And I know the Crow drew a lot more money than this version, but I would have loved to have seen what Vince could have done with Sting in his prime.
Oh, yeah, again, I still think great babyface. One of the few guys who was much better as a babyface than a heel. There's just something so likable about Sting.
Nice guy. I mean, it just kind of shined through.
Looked great.
I think Warrior would get a bigger pop coming out just because of his entrance. But I mean, long term, as far as what you could do with him, Sting would give you better matches. I think Sting would be better with the media. Sting would have more longevity. Sting was more trustworthy.
Better character, I think, too.
I think WWF should have bit the bullet and coughed up the money that Sting wanted to go. But WCW always made him happy, so he stayed.
And WCW had those front-loaded contracts in turn. WWF, you can make the money, but you had to sort of work for it.
Yeah. And it was a much lighter schedule, too.
You know, funny enough, I thought if I was a pro wrestler back in the day, where would I want to work, WCW and WWF? And I would actually say WCW. And the reason why I would say that is because as someone as my size, WCW seemed to figure out how to use smaller wrestlers better. If you look at the guys who are smaller than 5'11" and under 200 pounds, they seem to be better off at WCW. More TV time, a little bit better pushes. WWF, they never knew how to push a smaller guy.
You want to know an interesting fact? Do you know who has that mask?
I'm gonna take a wild guess and say Quincy Rustani.
You think
No.
Quincy Rustani has Ric Flair's mask?
Do you have the mask? Hey, is it Ric Flair under that mask? Hey, buddy, did you give up the whole answer right?
Well, we already discussed that a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
But Dennis Brent.
Really?
He has the original black. He's got some really cool memorabilia. I wish Dennis was in better health. He would make such a great podcast guest. Or
Also, I just want to say, do you think people thought it might have been Ric Flair maybe when he came out with the robe?
I don't think it helped.
Yeah. But
I think one thing, maybe if people were on the bubble, they'd say, well, he doesn't have long hair.
I like how he's trying to wrestle differently, though. You can see how he's moving. He's trying to work differently. And I love
and that's tough, you know.
Those are his boots, I think. They don't have the RF on them, but he wore those design boots. And I love how he borrowed a pair of tights from Sting.
Oh, are those things? Oh, maybe he didn't borrow them. They were probably made for him, I would guess.
Look like Sting's tights. I just would not be surprised if he went.
I don't think they'd fit.
Well, oh yeah, Sting had much bigger legs. Unless he tried to fill them up.
No, they probably just made them for him.
Plus, they had different Black Scorpions, like you said.
Oh yeah,
they
you know.
Al Perez, I think, was under it for a while.
A lot of people did it. It was just like '94 when they tried to do the same thing.
But again, it's an interesting idea and concept.
If it wasn't Flair, yeah.
How would you have done Black Scorpion?
Oh God, I would have debuted someone new. I would have had a new heel. Who I don't know.
I'm not saying we make it, we build it for 3 months and then it's Kerry Von Erich under the mask. I'm not saying we do that. That would have been awful. But you know,
I'd have to go back in time and look and see who was working where and who might be available. But I would not have had it. It definitely wouldn't be Flair if I was booking.
You know, because he came in the next year at Howling Havoc as a fan, I think Rude worked with Sting quite a bit. But Rude was still with WWF. Actually,
no, he was gone in December.
But he did Tony Rumble and other.
Yeah.
I think he left Japan for a minute. But
yeah, it would have been a great way to bring in Rude.
Yeah, they could have kept that. Now, Hearn was with WCW until, was it late 91? I think it was.
Yeah.
Flair was gone. And I think it was late 91. I think Kip Fry was in for a minute.
He was at 92.
And then spring 92 to early 93 was Watts.
Yeah.
And then Bischoff. Gosh, the regime changes they had. You got Popeye's grandfather.
Oh. I mean, who thought this was a good idea? I think, Hurd, I think, was a fan of old school wrestling. Maybe he thought Dick the Bruiser would help pop ticket sales. I don't know, but man, he can't get down.
Like Bronco Lubick almost.
Flair's almost like he's trying to test out a new gimmick. Just not the dynamic matches that Flair and Sting had over the years, to say the least. But you know what? To Flair's credit, he did a pretty good job. Trying.
I'll say this about Flair. I think Flair definitely did. I think he kept some people down, and I think he definitely played some politics. But Flair always worked hard. He did what he could.
Flair?
Yeah. I think I talked earlier about the Scott Steiner match. I think he liked it. I think this, when you look at guys like Steiner and Sid and Sting, and then you compare to what Flair looked like in 91, 92, it just seemed like there was that generation coming up and he was trying to sort of stay on top of it. But again, Flair's prime to me was ending around 91, 92. I mean, by the time he went to WWF, he was
in his early 40s, yeah.
He'd been working 20 years. And, I mean, look at him in 92. And it wasn't quite the same as what he was in 89.
The booking of Flair in WWF was terrible. I mean, they went through, he wasn't even there. He was there, a year and, not even a year and a half. And I mean,
he left in February.
January. Well, yeah, he did some house shows after he lost the Loser Leaves Town match. But he went through, in less than a year, he went through Piper, Hogan, and Savage. I mean, that could have been years worth of material if it was booked right.
And then,
Yeah, and then you had Undertaker, you had Warrior, you had his matches with Brett weren't that good, but
Do you blame him, or what do you think about him and Brett? Do you think it was his fault or Brett's, or just the style clash? Because they seem to very
just not everybody has good matches together, you know?
I know Brett claimed, oh, people said he was great, and he was told by many people he was phenomenal. And then they worked together, and he felt like he was dragging him down.
Well, look at when Flair won the title for the second time, they had to redo the match at the TV taping.
Also, I think Brett was a different kind of babyface than maybe what Flair was used to working. And I like Brett, but I think he wasn't like a Sting Steamboat kind of like. He had fire, but it wasn't like I don't know how to explain it. But you know what I mean? He just worked a little differently.
No, just for whatever reason they didn't gel.
Backlund was a great worker in his style, but not everyone was going to gel with Backlund.
Yeah.
He didn't work to Backlund's style. You know? A guy who was 6 feet tall maybe could do it, but a guy who was 6'10" probably wouldn't. You know. But I think Flair left because he wanted to be a top guy. Vince said, "I got to go younger. I want you out of the ring." And Flair was like, "I can go to WCW and be a top guy again."
No, they had an agreement from day one. The day that he stopped being the guy, he could leave. And to Vince McMahon's credit, he honored that word. He was going to start putting over Tatanka.
Well, that's the thing. If you look how he handled Savage, and if he's doing that to Savage, you know he's going to do that to Flair, if not worse. And I think Flair, in his heart of hearts, at 44 years old, or whatever he was, felt he was still a top guy in his mind.
And he was. I mean, he had great success in WCW until they went the NWO route.
But at that point, I would have, my opinion, when he beat Vader for the WCW title at Starrcade 93, that would have been my last hurrah for Flair on top. After that, I would have said, Rick, you're in your mid-40s, you've been around for 20 years, you got to start working your way down the card a little bit.
He still had, he drew a lot of money for that company with Hogan. When Hogan came in, he had a great feud with Savage in that company when Savage came in. It wasn't until the NWO became the cool heels that I think Flair lost his luster, in my opinion. Maybe at that point they should have used him in moderation. I mean, he had some U.S. title feuds and just some worthless things.
Well, he had that U.S. title at one point. I mean, but that's when
I would have never put him in that position, but that's just me. I would have just used him in moderation.
But Flair, I mean, obviously, I think his 80s run is probably him at his peak, especially from mid to late 80s. I'd say his best years were probably 84 to 90. 83 to 90 is probably.
Well, I mean, he said that he had matches with Ricky Steamboat in the 70s that were better than anything in 89.
No,
so
I just think people got to see that. But you know what's funny? My mom grew up in South Carolina. I told you I just went recently. My grandma lived there.
Yeah, right.
My mom knew who Ric Flair was in the 70s.
Wow.
Living there. And she was not a wrestling fan.
Well, I mean, hey, the wrestling was everywhere back then. You only had a handful of channels.
And she was only living there until 75-ish. 70, because after she graduated high school, she moved back up here. And she'd go down there to visit, but,
She never made it into the van with Flair and Blackjack Mulligan.
On one of the Women of the Night at the wrestling show, saying Spartanburg or Greenville.
Dick the Bruiser. I mean, he looks like an indie on some horrible indie show referee.
Can I dress like that, 11, 13?
No.
I'm not a professional, Dan. I'm quite an amateur man.
I still got to message Dennis.
You should message him now.
I'm not good at using Facebook on the phone. I get so many messages on Facebook. They get, excuse me, I've been here for 12 hours, well, 13 hours at this point, but I put in my time. You guys are going to get to enjoy Alundra, Blayze, Madusa's Cauliflower Alley Club speech on Patreon tonight and on YouTube tomorrow if you want to check that out. Get to know the lady a little bit before she makes her way to Memorial Hall in Melrose next Saturday night, November the 13th. I got to say this, you know what? This is like a nice break from reality when we do these.
Yeah.
I wish the super chats would light up a little bit. Wink, wink, cough, cough. But you know, the event has been so much work. I think I told you we're working on a little mini documentary piece on how it all came together. But don't let that mask come off, Rick. But just watching this for a couple of hours reminded me of the days. Even if there's things about the show that sucked, there were some things I've enjoyed.
The most ridiculous thing is a month later, Flair beat Sting at the Meadowlands.
Yeah.
And
The Jackal was there. The Jackal was there.
Don Callis?
No, the real Jackal.
Who's the real Jackal? No, tell me. I don't know. I'm a little lost right now.
Well, he was the voice of Tony Rumble's CWA. He was the voice
I didn't watch the CWA.
of Boston Wrestling. He helped kickstart the company.
I don't know the entire history of NWF.
No, then you should research it.
Well, okay. All right, with that attitude, let's see how many,
The poor Jackal. I can't believe what I'm hearing.
How dare I?
Pat, he didn't know who the Jackal was. I'm insulted.
Yeah. I know.
Oh, all right.
Well, everyone, I didn't know who the Jackal was, so I guess I'll go fuck myself.
Well, you're on the list after that.
Am I on Terry Reynolds' list?
No, not quite that bad, but now we still miss the Jackal. He'll be there in spirit on November the 13th.
Is he passed?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. He was in his early 50s. He attended every Boston Garden show. And it's funny, I remember, wow. Sometimes you wonder about how the world works. The first garden event he ever went, he went to every garden event from the first one until he missed the one a couple of weeks before he died when his health started. He didn't know what was wrong with him. So I don't even know. He kept going to Mass General and they kept sending him home. And then he went back another time and I guess they were getting ready to do some kind of a test. And something, he was extremely overweight. Oh God, why don't I think it was January of 17. I think.
No.
But he went to, and you're talking monthly, but funny enough, the first event he ever went to was in 1978, November 4th, 1978.
Who was on the card there?
I don't remember that, but the reason I remember that is because that was the day Linda Moratti was born.
Oh.
Was on the day the Jackal went to his first garden event. When he saved his ticket stubs, and when he hit his 100th consecutive event, they put his name up on the little scoreboard that would flash during the event.
Really?
Yeah. I think the August of 87 show was his 100th consecutive event.
So he went from the late 70s on, so he went through the time they even tore down the garden in 95,
Yeah.
right? So he went to the Fleet Center.
Yep.
And he got to see, now that's got to be interesting because he got to see everyone kind of come through.
Yeah.
You got to see all those eras, and you got to see part of the crowds go up, go down, stay the same, do whatever. And you get to see all those different things. Did he have a few different shows that he particularly liked in general? Did that include pay-per-views and TVs?
He went at one point to everything. He went, like I said, that's what reminded me of it when you mentioned the Flair and Sting at the Meadowlands. I mean, if you could get there by car, especially during the day when there were a lot of house shows in the Northeast, I mean, he went everywhere. He used to go to the MSG Monday night house shows very often. Just a vault of knowledge when it came to the history of the business. He would have been so great to have around in this new quote unquote podcast talk show type era. You know, I remember Tony Rumble said if he would wear a suit, he would be the guy, the historian that would be on all those cable wrestling specials like Dark Side of the Ring and so on and so forth. But he was him. He had his own personality. He didn't like to get dressed up. He didn't care much about his physical appearance. He had a great love of, I shouldn't say it.
Say it.
No, because he wouldn't care. You know, he used to love to have, he would pay porn women great amounts of money for sex. True story.
No, the way you said it, he paid porn women a great amounts of money.
Well, he
for
would.
sex.
I
You say it
guess.
so innocently.
I guess some of them would do like tours where they'd go from city to city for a few weeks at a time, and he'd spend.
You have sex with them?
Yeah, I mean, he'd spend 4 figures, big money on some of these women.
So
He liked the star. He wanted the stars.
would we know them? Would people know him as the Jack? What would they know him as?
The porn women?
No. What
Oh.
was his name?
The Jackal.
That was his name that he went by?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know about him until now. Thank you for telling me about him. I appreciate that. I did know that there's a man out in Western Massachusetts who might have one of the biggest collections of professional wrestling memorabilia out there. He might be one of the best known historians. I thought maybe that's who you were referring to.
No.
But
My friend, I don't know if you know Mel Simons. He's got a hell of a collection.
Mel Simons, I remember Mel Simons. He was a ring announcer.
Mel Simons.
He do some of Richard Burns' old shows.
Yes, I used to ring announce for Richard Byrne. And I used to go and see Walter. I live at, 685 Weld Street in West Roxbury. He used to be on WBC radio late night once a month. If you wanted to book him for gigs, he'd give out his home address and his phone number on BZ. I think it's 635 Weld Street, West Roxbury. And he had a chick named Roberta that I think was his beard. No, Mel is another long-time friend.
How long was Linda your beard?
Linda and I have been a roller coaster going back to November of 2002.
See, that's about 20 years, right? You should have a 20th anniversary show for Linda.
Well, next year maybe.
That's a rough one.
See, I'm even missing Linda Maratti's birthday for Starrcade 90. Light up the Superchats, baby. What's that?
And for me.
I'm always happy to see you. I'm not happy to see her, but that's a different story for a different time.
Ladies and gentlemen, he yells at me when we go off air.
I don't think I have ever yelled at you. I think you've heard me yell.
I don't know. I'm telling you this. He will not yell at me for anything I do in 11:13.
Because you're going to be superb.
You might say, why'd you wear that fucking Doom t-shirt? But other than that, I might be like, it called for it. You'll roll your eyes. And
We'll have to talk to Mel.
I'll talk to Mel in my Doom t-shirt.
Now, Mel, I invited Mel, but Mel has had some health problems.
Oh, he was such a nice guy.
Cross body.
Oh, God.
It could have been about a 16 count, but
when did he die, Dick the Bruiser?
God, it's been a long time. But in the AWA, in that Midwest territory, what a draw.
Oh, yeah. Warrior.
Him and the Crusher.
Warrior talked about, he wasn't a wrestling fan, but he said, I would always hear the Crusher and Dick the Bruiser, and I knew who those guys were.
Yeah, because he grew up in Indiana.
Yeah. In the 60s and early 70s, so he knew. And it's kind of the same as who was the guy who took the mask off? And that's the thing. There are some people out there that grew up in certain areas, and they grew up in certain places where they just knew people, you know? If you grew up
the top guys in most territories up until the mid-'80s were a lot of the household names. Look at Memphis. I mean, you're talking 70 shares. 70% of the people watching TV were watching Memphis wrestling with Jerry Lawler and back in its peak.
Hell, even Vince.
Georgia. I mean, Georgia Championship Wrestling was.
That was big in Ohio and Michigan.
Yeah.
In the early 80s. TBS. You know, Tommy Rich was known in Ohio.
Yeah.
You know? And I've heard Tommy Rich was like the Hulk Hogan of his day. And I'm like.
I never saw that Tommy Rich, but.
I guess Pop.
I'm too young.
Oh, that was a close cheer. That was a little bit of a shot. Now at this point, people had to think: is this guy?
When you brought the Horsemen in, yeah. I mean, I really wasn't. I remember watching, like I told you, the tape the day after, or I don't remember if this was a Sunday or a Saturday or 2 days after. But I understood wrestling well young. And let me tell you something. It may sound braggadocious, but there's very few things in life I'm good at or do well. And I think the two of them are this, knowing and understanding the business, and being a dad to the kids. Other than that, there isn't much I do well.
Understand? Well, you are a loving father, I would say.
Well, don't say that to Linda, because biologically they're not mine.
Well, the fact you take care of them like they're your own, that's the important.
I'm surprised Scott Steiner didn't change his gear again.
How many singlets did those boys have? They had a lot of singlets, Steiners.
Is that Pillman trying to climb it? He didn't even have Pillman. Is that Pillman? Oh, no, that's Terry Taylor. I wonder where Pillman was at this point.
Please don't compare a talent like Pillman and Terry Taylor. That's an insult to Terry Taylor.
Hey, Pillman in his prime was excellent.
No, Pillman was great. Is this Flair post haircut? No, did Flair not have that stupid hair? Oh, no, Flair had his haircut at this point.
He even got color under a mask. Why would you bother?
Oh, that's Zank?
Yeah.
So there was a rumor about Zank and Pillman that they canoodled.
Really?
That was a rumor.
I heard one.
Johnny Ace.
What's that?
Zank and Johnny Ace was another rumor. Apparently, I think Tom Zank might have been bisexual at least, because there's too many rumors about him and other men.
To order Starrcade 90 t-shirt. Oh, what a good way to get the cheap plug-in for the shirt. I wonder if they still have them. I'm going to guess that P.O. box is no longer active.
Yeah, I know if you had the Starrcade 90 t-shirt, you'd be selling it on November the 13th. On November the 13th.
Happy holidays from World Championship Wrestling fans. What did you think of Starrcade 90? What would you give it on a scale of 1 to 10?
See, the problem is that the show is bogged down by those stupid Pat O'Connor matches.
Oh, hold on one sec. Fans, if you don't want to listen to our recap of Starrcade 90, Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty begins now on YouTube. So we got double action in the bullpen right now.
What do you want to watch Sunday?
Well, we're going to go to a Survivor Series.
Okay. Anyone in particular you want to stay with the...
Should we stick with 90? Should we start with Survivor Series 90? We did 87 last year. I remember that.
That's the big show of Ariba.
What's that now?
That's the big show for Tito, Survivor Series 90.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but...
No, they pushed him a little bit.
Well, don't give it away. We're going to watch it together as friends.
Okay. Friends and lovers.
I don't know. Should we go in order? Should we skip 88 and 89 for now and go with 90? We're going back to the 90s Saturday night, November the 13th at Memorial Hall?
Brother, I am cool as an ice cube with whatever you want to do. I think a Survivor Series would be great. Particularly because I think
But what did you say?
I said I'm cool as an ice cube with Survivor Series.
No, which one did you just say a minute ago?
I'm cool with whatever year. I think 90 would be fine. I know you like the 90s. I know in the 80s.
I just think it fits the theme. I think maybe we could save the 80s ones for April.
Yeah.
Or leading into the April event.
Yeah, 90 would be okay. 90, 91 would be fine.
We'll do that. We'll see. You know, I forgot one thing. I'm going to be in Brooklyn for one of them, so we're going to miss one of the Sundays. Maybe we could pre-tape it.
Are you going to be in Brooklyn for the Survivor
Yes.
Series? The one that's before Thanksgiving?
Yes. I don't know if you want to come along. But...
I mean, really.
All right. Well, I know how you thought about that.
Well, Survivor Series, we'll do that. But I will be here Sunday. We'll do Survivor Series 90, and then we'll go from there.
We'll try and go in order. All right, wrestling fans, it has been a pleasure. Tonight's episode with Party with Marty. Marty and I are going to have a talk. Let's put it like that. I saw some things when I edited that I had no idea actually happened until I edited the show. And I don't even know if I told you. Did I?
No.
No, I'm not pleased at all.
What happened?
Fans will watch.
What was going on with it?
Huh?
You mentioned it, but I'm not sure what you were going on with it.
I think I had my glasses on too, so I should have seen it, but I was so distracted with going over the notes, and we were so behind because we lost a full day of taping because of his travel issues and just everything that goes along with being Marty sometimes, which can be frustrating. But we love Marty. The Party with Marty is on YouTube right now. Tomorrow, what a loaded day we have. We have an MWF extra bonus episode. We have some more talent announcements that are going to be competing in the ring at our 20th anniversary Back to the 90s live event and fan fest next Saturday night, November the 13th at Memorial Hall. VIP packages and tickets on sale now at bostonwrestling.com. Also tomorrow, you can look forward to Alundra Blayze, a.k.a. Madusa's Cauliflower Alley Club award acceptance speech. Very interesting. It ruffled a couple of feathers. She's a very blunt woman, I guess, is a good way to put it. And then tomorrow night after SmackDown and AEW Rampage, baby, it's got a piece. It's never cold in the wintertime. John Cena Sr.'s Fabulous Fridays. Hear about our adventures in Orlando for Halloween. What the hell was it called? Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. Johnny shoots on Ring of Honor's issues. We talk about Jim Duggan, Jim Ross, Danhausen, and their health issues. So it's an interesting episode. Saturday night, if you've missed anything, we have Wrestling Insiders Week in Review at 8 o'clock. And then it's almost like we kick off WrestleMania week live Sunday night with Sunday Night Live, the watch along. And what a week we're going to have next week. We're going to be having guests, interviews leading up to the event. All of our featured superstars from back to the 90s are going to be here in the studio Friday, Saturday, and Sunday next week. It is going to be mayhem. It is going to be a week from hell. The more I think of it, I'm ready to get on a plane and go somewhere else. But
Well, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit into this match.
yeah, well, don't watch it. We're going to save it for the next time.
Yeah, save it for a year from now when people forget.
Well, we'll watch. No, if we go in order, this will be the one we watch next week.
Oh.
See, that's how it kind of.
Well, what he's trying to say, he's got a lot going on. Next week's going to be a busy week for you, a very busy week for you. But listen, think of it this way. Think of this. Just imagine this in your mind. Saturday night, you're at Kowloon. The show is over. You're having a nice meal. You see your buddy Andy.
Well, the thing with Kowloon is now it closes so early. I don't think we'll be able to dine there. We'll have to find an Applebee's or something.
I think we get to Kowloon.
No, I don't.
No, really?
Yeah, no, because like a lot of restaurants, they don't have the help, so they're not open until late anymore.
We'll have to play it by ear.
I think the only place I know that's open late, other than maybe a mom and pop place, I think Applebee's is open, or Fridays.
Yeah.
No, even Hooters closes early. It's one of the two of them. Fridays or Applebee's is open pretty late.
I know both of them are. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll have to take
Those
over
three.
Applebee's or Fridays.
Pretty sure those three I mentioned are open late.
Or we'll have to go back to the hotel and do something there. I don't know. Well, I don't know what you do at the hotel, but it's a different story for a different time, I
You got
guess.
video game systems now. They've been on the road, right? On the boys.
I wouldn't know how to play. I'd have to watch, I guess. I'd have to just chat things up, as we like to say. All right, fans, we are running out of time. We had a blast here watching Starrcade 90. Did I ask you on a scale of 1 to 10 what you'd give it?
Like 5, 4.
That's it?
Like 5.5. I say 5, 5.5. It just the stupid Pat O'Connor Cup brought it down.
You know what it is to me? I think I probably would have agreed with you when I watched it, but just watching it now, it's so different compared to what's on TV nowadays. I would probably have given it a 7. I give it a 7 right now. Back then, I don't think I liked it all that much from what I remember watching originally. I just hate what's on TV so much right now. It felt refreshing. I didn't have boring skits and promos, and I just wish WWE's writing team would go back and watch events like this and see what they could take and incorporate it into 2021 WWE.
That makes sense.
Yeah. What did you guys think? Does anyone want to throw out a rating? Phil is with us.
Phil, what do you say?
Scale of 1 to 10 for Starrcade 90, Phil. Come on, brother. I know you've seen it. Come on. Come on, Phil. Come on. You only have to type a number, unless it's a 10s and there's 2. Come on. I think we're on a little bit of a, almost like the radio, a little bit of a delay. But Phil, come on, brother. He's giving it to you the deep thought, or he signed out quick. I don't know. It did a long time ago, 5.5. All right, well, fair enough. You and Phil were pretty close. I don't understand on a scale of 1 to 10 the halves.
Because
come on.
It's not enough of this, but it's a little more than that.
No, that's what MSW Construction said. All right, wrestling fans, I'm going to pass the baton to Mr. Wilson as he encourages you to head over to bostonwrestling.com to get your VIP packages and tickets now for our 20th anniversary Back to the 90s endeavor next Saturday night. Don't forget, the ticket prices go up $5 on Saturday. I want to see you save the money. The sooner the fans get the tickets, it helps the insanity that is what we have to deal with. You help us, we try and help you. $5. How about that? Charlie Wilson, whew, all you, baby.
Guys, I appreciate everyone watching. Thanks for joining us. Again, we'll be here Sunday for, I'm guessing it's Survivor Series 90.
7 p.m., baby.
7 p.m.
LIVE live.
It'll be 7 p.m. tonight. We're watching Survivor Series 90.